102.5.
I welcome you to the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Yesterday was International Women's Day. Now, to start off the show, I'll share with you a statement from the National Commission for Civic Education on this issue. It's titled, "The NCC joins the world to celebrate International Women's Day." And it reads, "The National Commission for Civic Education joins Ghana and the rest of the world to celebrate women globally on International Day for Women 2019. Women in the world over continue to contribute their quota to nation building and impacting many lives for better society, but they are underrepresented in public life and political decision-making processes. The theme for this year's commemoration is Balance for Better. This is appropriate because achieving gender parity remains a critical vision for gender advocates. The collective action and shared ownership for driving gender parity has made International Women's Day a global activity. Women globally reiterate the call for policymakers to be sensitive to the complexities and discrimination women face and implement policies that will enable women to realize their potentials, as well as increase the representation of women in politics and decision-making processes. Gender parity is not just good for women, it is good for modern democratic societies. No country can truly develop if greater percentage of its population is left behind. The significant contributions women offer to nation building requires that women be given the enabling environment that allows them to occupy strategic national positions. To ensure the continued advancement of democracy and national growth, there must be increased efforts towards ensuring increased participation of women in decision-making in the public and private spheres to engender balance for a better and healthy society. As we celebrate International Women's Day, the NCC urges the government, parliament, civil society organizations, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, and all stakeholders to support the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill into law to help increase the number of women in leadership positions for socio-economic development of the country. NCC celebrates all women and entreats them to be resilient in their quest to contributing to make Ghana a better place for all. So, happy International Women's Day to all the women. It was yesterday, and what they're asking for is that they be allowed to play more roles in society, especially in leadership. And that statement comes from one of the very few agencies headed by a woman, Mrs. Josephine Nkrumah. And welcome once again to the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. I start the show with the stories on the front pages of the various newspapers, and I start with the Mirror, and they have 60-year-old people still show at Independence Day parade. Trotro mate vanishes with driver's sales. Vivian Sewa Edu, the story of hard work, tenacity and gifts. So those are the stories on the front page of the Mirror newspaper. The Ghanaian Times has, "I apologize for slapping MP, National Security Operative." Samira Baumia joins breakfast meeting to mark International Women's Day. Government documentary on militia group mischievous, inaccurate. And also 4 females top 2018 WAEC Distinction Awards. The Daily Guide has "No militia at Castle. Government debunks claim. NDC MPs want president to resign. I'm sorry, Sam George slapper. Brothers kill man over girl. CAC elder impregnates stepdaughter." And also committee probes law school mass failure. And finally, the Daily Graphic has "Pass Affirmative Action Bill. Activists demand." Expose carries alleged militia training. Expose carries misrepresentations upon Nkrumah, but minority fingers president. And Wegehe tops WAEC awards. Yes, Antiwa girls St. Augustine's prove metal. So those are the stories on the front pages of the dailies we have available this morning. If you just join us, once again, a good morning to you and welcome to the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. And today I am joined in the studio by Dr. Justice Moses Kweku Aheto, who is a lecturer at the University of Ghana. Honorable Alasan ABA Fuseni is member of Parliament for Sanyarugu constituency. Adib Sani is a security analyst and executive director of Jatike Center for Human Security and Peace Building. and Desmond Chumesim is national organizer for the People's National Convention. Particularly, they have played a key role in the Coalition for National Sovereignty, and they have also been talking a lot about the issue of what happened at Ayawaso West Wagon and political vigilantism in general. So that tells you that our first topic has to do with what has happened across the week in terms of the issues surrounding political vigilantism. Now, the president replied that letter that was written to him by the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, and the president has basically disagreed with the call for a wider consultations, that meeting that he proposed between the NPP and the NDC includes other interest groups. The president says he does not see the need for that, but the Ghana Catholic bishops have also joined that call. The Ghana Pentecostal Council, they too have also joined that call for other interest groups to be involved in that meeting. But the president is insisting on a meeting between the NPP and the NDC, and of course the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress also had to appear before the CID earlier this week on issues having to do with a leaked tape. And then there is the matter of that documentary that was put out by Joy News that has led the minority to demand that President Akufo-Addo resigns. That demand has been laughed off by the Minister for Information, who thinks there's no basis for that, and has also been responding to what is contained in that documentary about the militia at the Osu Castle, militia being trained at the Osu Castle. So we'll be discussing those issues, and then we'll be looking at the luxury vehicle tax that led to a mammoth demonstration earlier this week. So that will also be the second topic that we'll be looking at, and if we have time, we'll talk about optional comments. So those are the topics, the business for today on Alhaji And Alhaji from now to midday. And once again, welcome to the show. My name is Sana Nobo, show produced by Patrick Asford Boidu. Now let me welcome my panelists for today, and good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Yeah. So today I start with Doc Justice Moses Aheto. Is a lecturer at the University of Ghana, and also works at the Institute for Human Security. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
So he's starting our very first topic for us, having to do with the issues surrounding political vigilantism this week, especially the issue of rearing of militia at the castle.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to our cherished listeners. First of all, I would like to thank the Catholic Bishop Conference for setting the pace and for talking to what is right for the nation. Regarding the militia training at the seat of government, that is Christian Castle, if you remember on the 23rd of February when I was on this program, I made it clear to you that actually the government is training vigilante groups purposely for their own activity. And for that matter, they are coming back to us and asking their opponent to lay down their arms while they are heavily equipping their vigilante groups. I've also made it clear that what I know as a first hand, some of them have been given ammunition or weapons that are even more sophisticated than what the regular security agencies are using. And there's no doubt. The only problem is that we behave so hypocritical in our nation. For that matter, even what is truth is being made to be the lie, and the lie becomes the truth. So let's go straight to the point. You know, the Christian Castle is a state asset, and it's not a military zone. Before 2013, that place used to house our president. That's what you call the castle. That's where the president will be residing and operating from. Even for any reason, if that place is at the moment not directly being used by the current president, because it's now at the Jubilee House, what it means is that, and for sure I know they're using the castle as an annex. So some of the guys who could not find a space at Jubilee House are now located at the castle. So indirectly, what it means is that the castle is still a security zone, and for that matter, it means no-go zone. So if justice who want to maybe visit that place, I need to go through the normal protocol. I'm not sure if I get the castle right now, I will just be allowed to drive inside, or I'll just be allowed to park my car and walk inside. and so the comment since the expose that militias are being trained at the castle, some of the defense that the ruling government is coming out with is that, we are no more using the castle as a security zone. It's now like a normal place, so there's nothing security about that area. Because if you go to the castle right now, some of the monuments, some of the critical things that make the history of this nation, they are still being housed in the castle. They are not being brought to the Jubilee House. They are still at the castle. The symbols like those guns that you see to symbolize how people fought, everything is still there. Nothing has moved apart from human beings living that place. So when they come to tell us that it's no more security zone, then some of us begin to actually continue with our assertion that the government is trying so hard to play on the intelligence of the people of Ghana. So now let's go to the substantive issue about the militia training. The question is, are we at war? Is the nation at war, where over 5,000 individuals are being trained on rolling basis since 2018? Where are they going? You are training militia groups. Where are you sending them to? Are they going to fight in Afghanistan? Are they going to fight in a war zone like Liberia, somewhere else, which are now even enjoying their peace? Where are they going? So if at the end of the day we are not able to tell us it is, all of us will wake up one day and our roofs will be on fire. This is reality. Now let's send our mind back to Nigeria, how the whole Boko Haram issue started. Boko Haram issue didn't start on a platter. There are some individual politicians who are training some of these individuals to protect them. And when they realize that they can't control them anymore, they left them to their fate. And what happened? The guys put themselves together, they came as one, and they are now fighting the state. To the extent that state powers cannot even control them, means security cannot control them. And it is the same experience that our president Ronaldo is bringing to Ghana now. Let's be frank with this. At the moment, I made it clear the other time that the president don't even need the opposition parties or stakeholders to do what vigilantism in the country. The reason being that our constitution made it clear what is criminal as far as our activities are concerned. So do we need another dialogue to define what a criminal act is? These people are individuals. Like when the whole thing started, I was one of the first people you interviewed on the also West Wagon issue. You remember? And I made it clear that these are vigilante groups. They are not security persons because they operated. I even made it clear on this your show that the way the arms were released, the bullets were released, they were not actually what? Warning shot. They were actually targeted. And when the ballistic expert went to the plane, what did he see? He said the same thing. That looking at the bullet being released, and some of them wait at the base of containers, some of them making holes on the ground, and about 19 of them that were actually identified, he can say that actually these people actually aimed at something. They are not one shot. But the president came out to say that these are not things that we have to worry about that. And for that matter, the commission is going to do their work and they will not hide anything. Now, let me come out very clear on this matter. For now, he is the president, and our security should be very key to him. I'm going to plead with him to put politics aside, because we are dealing with life and death. Nana Addo should put politics aside and safeguard our security for us, because where we are now, even the regular security systems, they are struggling. The reason being that they don't even have the necessary equipment to protect themselves. But these vigilante groups who were trained to become militia groups are being supplied with ammunition, weapons that even the regular people cannot use. I'm pleading with the president to use those resources to feed into the regular security system and so that we can have our peace. And secondly, I'm not appealing to the IGP, but I will appeal to the conscience of good Ghanaians. To the conscience of good Ghanaians. Now, where am I going? The IGP is sitting down. The political powers, the ruling government, is pushing individuals on them who are not well trained to operate at the security sector. But they are now being forced on them to accept them. And I made it clear last time that even when the regular security systems are going on operations, they carry along some of these vigilante groups that were imposed on them to use. I remember there are times those days, you go for some operations and it can backfire. You need to find your exit. If you don't have the requisite training trust me, you will be the reason why others will be destroyed on that day. Because when they were trained to be able to even exit when the situation becomes so tough, you are not trained like that. So how you can even maneuver to exit from that location, it will be so difficult for you that because of you alone, others can be arrested and even can be maimed. But this is something that we are taking for granted. And I'm telling you on a serious note that serious operations, we have some of these violent groups being added to the regular system to go and operate. I don't see the reason for that. Not to use I also as a typical example, but I think it's just good to set the record straight. If you look at what is happening at Ayawaso and following the commission's work, you can see clearly that people were given 3 weeks training at a sanctuary here. And when the situation, according to them, is becoming worse, they run and pick a police officer's arm without even seeking permission. He went and picked up a police officer's arm without seeking a permission. And he went straight to the scene. What is he going to do? He said he wants to use it to deter aggression. Aggression from where? Innocent citizens who were not armed. If you cannot control them, if really you are trained properly, if you cannot even control citizens who are not armed, unless you have to go for an arm which belongs to another police officer, how can you behave like that? That alone tells you that when you push these related groups to go and work with a regular police system, they will disappoint. And for that matter, it's a threat to even the very police system they want to protect. How can you do that? Now, even by our laws, when it comes to use of arms, for instance, if Justice Moses Aheto want to use a sidearm or maybe pump action or here and there, I need to go through the process. And what is this process? I need to apply for it. My background checks needs to be done. And the police will go ahead and do the investigations. When they realize that, oh, I don't have any criminal record, and secondly, looking at the type of work I'm doing, might not, endanger me using the type of weapon I want to request for, they will go ahead and then give you the weapon. And you have to pay and do all the process, have the paper to use it. One critical condition for use of the arms is that you should never, and I mean never, share your arm with anybody. It is only registered in you and only in your name. So there is no condition, there is no circumstance that I will hand over my weapon to somebody to use. It's an illegal act, and nobody should even try this at any place. But that is exactly what happened at Ayawaso. Because illegitimate, illegal militia groups were used to terrorize innocent citizens. So, from the one, the expose that even started after this Ayawaso West War gun issue, you could see that clearly the security agencies are being infiltrated or adulterated with these illegal arms, illegal groups, terrorist groups, rebel groups, who are being led by rebel masters. What we have gotten to now is about rebel masters. Because these guys, I told you from day one that these are guys who are just on the street. You heard about Double. He said he's what? A food seller at Circle. Is that not it? Food seller at Circle. Yes. He is now working at what? VIP session of Kotoka International Airport. Is that what he said? Yeah. So you can imagine. A food seller. Now, a security detail as a VIP session. VVIP. Not VVIP, VVIP unit of the Kotoka International Airport. If President, let's say Trump wants to come to Ghana right now, you go through that place. Is that not it? Yeah. And this is the person who is providing security at that side. 3 weeks training of mobile phone seller. This is enough. You see, we shouldn't take our security for granted. What I am now, I'm not a happy Ghanaian, to be frank. The only trouble is that I cannot change my identity, because this will not happen anywhere. Where you are a phone seller, you have given a 3 weeks training, which is not advanced training. This is a basic training. What is he talking about? Map reading. Yeah. You could have gone and be driving let's say, what's the name, Uber? Because that helps you to locate the areas where you want to go. Is that not it? Yeah. It's not enough. Many of us can read maps on our own. If you are a geographer, you can read maps. You don't even need to be a geographer. If you're going to somewhere, they give you the map, they say these are the area, look for these features, and if you see this feature, next to that feature is this. You can easily do it. And this is the guy who cannot even speak English. How is he going to even read the map? He cannot speak English.
Somebody said if you write his name, you can't recognize it.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's true. No, this is not a joke. The guy cannot even recognize his own name when you write it for him. And this is the guy who said he was trained in map reading. I know what map reading is talking about. I've done it several times in my life. Map reading, you even need certain level of intellectual ability.
Calculations.
There's a lot of calculation. Even the compass location. What you call the compass location. Wherever you want to go, you need to have that compass location. It's not only looking at the manual map and say you are going. You get lost. There are times you need to rely heavily on the compass location before you can get there. Someone who is not even well educated, who cannot even speak English, is now the one who read the map and it's part of security, national security. We are doomed as a nation. I'm very ashamed, very much ashamed. I got some call from some of my colleagues in the UK, and what they were telling me is that you guys, you started a joke of the, even not in the 1st century, and I was so furious about this. Let's take this very critical. It's not a joke. Let's take it very critical. Those who are sitting on the fence at this time, all the stakeholders who knows about what is going on, but they are so quiet about it. I don't wish evil for my nation, but they should never wait till the disaster strike. Because we are now, anything can happen at any time. I'm telling you that there are over 5,000 militia groups being trained. You know, do you know how all this happened? I don't want to say it, but let me say it here. It's not going to be any legal issue. Far back when the MPP won power and they got into government in 2017, those vigilante groups who helped them to come into power, you know, they raised alarm about they not being given a job, and for that matter, they will strike here and there. Yeah. Some of them went to some of their meetings and scatter, even beat some of them up. Yeah. You remember those things? Yeah. Yes. Then there was a meeting to devise a way to address some of these problems. Now, because the way they started, people were saying that, oh, you recruited them. Now you see how they want to attack you. So the whole idea is to find a way of formalize these guys into the regular system, so that at least they can be getting something. That is fine. All Ghanaians, you work. But we should find a job that actually befits their standard, so that at least they can make a living. But finally, what happened is that when the invisible forces actually went to that court, even before the court, they went to that assembly, the Kumasi Municipal Assembly, and then go and pull out the coordinator and beat him up here and there, and people begin to say a lot about it. Then they try to cover their image. So they want to rebrand all of these groups. This is the secret behind the whole of this. They want to rebrand some of these groups. So what they are doing undercover is to get most of these guys back and trade them for some other assignment. But these assignments are not directly related to, especially the initial ones you're talking about right now, the over 5,000. It's not directly related for them to go and perform in the security sector. They are going to perform other sectors that are not that much security conscious. But then you are thinking these are ordinary Ghanaians working at maybe the airport, or maybe working at the GRA, or working at Ghana Sky Service, or working at Ministry of Health. But behind the scene, these are people who were prepared mentally and physically to combat. So, for instance, we will not be surprised if in 2020 you see somebody that they tell that this person is only as an observer, but this person rather is one of those who were trained physically and mentally to combat that day. So that at any little provocation, they can just scatter the system if it's not going in their favor. So let us begin to wake up. I'm calling the Christian Council. I'm calling on the Peace Council. I'm calling on all agencies and stakeholders in Ghana who have Ghana at their heart. You see, the problem we have at the moment is that unless somebody slap you, they say nobody beat you up. Unless somebody slap you, they say nobody beat you up. Do we have to wait before we are slapped to know that it's not right to slap somebody? We shouldn't behave like that. And right now, on the militia front, my greatest worry so far is the approach being adopted by the president. Now, you, the president, you call for negotiation between the MPP and the NDC to deliberate on the vigilante group issue. Some of us, from day one, we said this is not necessary, because the Constitution made provisions for that. We don't need it. That's what I said earlier. But now, the NDC thinks that, oh, if it is in the interest of Ghana, we are ready to do it. But for that matter, Ghana is not made up of only MPP and NDC. And the vigilante group is a threat to the whole nation. It's not only a threat to NDC and MPP. For that matter, let's bring in other stakeholders. Let's get the security involved. Let's get the Christian groups involved. Let's get the CSOs involved. And other people who are concerned, let's get them involved. And now the president came back with his response. Something that none of us actually expect. Even we know how his character is, how he go about his response to change that does not directly match his understanding. But this time, the way the response came, it was a great shock to many of us, because this is somebody who is trying to make all of us believe that he wanted or he's ready to fight this vigilante group menace in the country. And I'll just take your permission to read something briefly that is coming from him. Now, that will be on the, he said, now to the substance of the letter, you have made 2 requests. Firstly, to extend the call for a disbandment not only to the new Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, but to all political parties, civil society organizations, representatives of the media, representatives of the militia, police and other security agencies, as well as other relevant stakeholders. I am not aware of any vigilante groups that are associated with any of these bodies, as your letter suggests. Political party-related activity in the country has unfortunately been associated with the National Democratic Congress and the new Patriotic Party. I thus see little basis for your request. This is the President of Nations speaking. Let me make his work very simple for him. Let me make his work very simple for him. Have you been having armed robbery cases on the right when he assumed office? Yes. There were a lot of armed robbery cases. Why did he not invite the armed robbers themselves to come and sit with him? Why did the president not involve the armed robbers themselves to come and sit with him to deliberate on the issue? I'm asking this question based on what I just read. Armed robbery cases, he has seen it as a threat to the nation. So he came out publicly and announced that they are going to do everything possible to stop them. And later on, he even came and claimed credit that since they have initiated those actions here and there, including the surveillance here and there, the visibility and all those kind of stuff, now it is minimized. So what about the vigilante groups? Is it also not a national issue? For instance, if these guys go on rapids right now, are they going to only attack the NDC and NPP? And I'm telling you on a note that even when they went to the ISOS who were gone, it's not only NDC and people who were maimed. These are innocent Ghanaians. So it's a national character. So that response from a whole president is so simplistic. It's very shallow. And I don't want to use this word for him this morning. But at that very point, I would say he's a very shallow-minded person on that very point. Let's take things beyond shallow reasoning. If you want to reason, reason best. Sometimes I am made to believe that maybe he don't normally read some of these things, or he wrote it himself, but that is his way of life. It is the second one that even surprises me most. He said your request from mediators and facilitators of the dialogue, I am dismayed, and I believe that the Ghanaian people share my dismay. I want to make it very clear to him that I am a Ghanaian, but I am rather surprised or dismayed about his response. If there are crises, you want us to meet and deal with it. From the way even he himself put it, he said it is between the NPP and the NDC. Is that not it? Yeah. The problem is between the NDC and the NPP. Is that not it? Even based on this letter that he has written, that's what it means. Now, if 2 people are having conflict, who comes to resolve it?
You must find a mediator.
You need to find a mediator. But you know what he's trying to do? Just as they did to one of our honorable members, what's the name? Is it Mahama? When he raised some alarm and the parliament have to go through and investigate, Mahama Yariga. Finally, you know what happened? When the evidence were here, the majority, because they are the majority, they put their own thoughts at their own side. They put aside the evidence and they are moving on with their own thoughts. The same thing Akufo want to do this time around. There's no doubt about it. He will bring only the NDC and the NPP together. After that, they will go and say this is what we agreed on. Should NDC come back and say, oh, this actually is not part of our negotiation, they will say, you guys are liars. This is what we agreed on. So NDC simply want a mediator. So that at the end of the day, if somebody, either the NPP or the NDC comes to say something different, that mediator at least can come and say, hey, look, this is what we discussed, this is what actually transpired. But for that matter, they don't want it to happen that way, so he's against it. So such a person, it tells you clearly that he's not ready to fight the militant groups in the country. So on that note, I even see a big problem, because one of the issues that came up from the NDC side is that it could be like they might put the committee of inquiry's work at a very bad zone, because they're going to discuss around the same thing. The president say, oh, no, how can the discussion between the NDC and the MPP, be a problem, or maybe create a challenge for the commission's work? But in the same letter, do you know what happened? He was saying that the NDC is already making a pronouncement before the committee finish their work, which will be what pre-judice. Is that what he said? Is that not pre-judicial? Is that what he's saying? Now you're asking the same people to come and sit with you and discuss the same issue. That one is not. This letter we're talking about is only between the president and the NDC. Yeah. It's not between the president and the Ghanaians, because it is a written letter to what? The NDC. To the national chairman of the NDC. So it means this letter is between the two of them. But he's saying that the letter that the same NDC chairman also wrote to the president, Nanado, detailing those things. He's saying that already those things are prejudicial to the commission's work. Is that not it? But in the same letter, he's saying that he didn't see why the NDC meeting, the MPP, to discuss this issue would be prejudicial to the commission's work. The same letter. So such a person, how can you contradict yourself around the same period? So let's get serious on that matter. Now, the next one that I would want to put forward is the fact that our minority in parliament is calling for the resignation of Nanado.
Yeah, the president.
Sometimes I find it so difficult to add the word president because of the things I'm going through.
But he is the president.
He is the president. But when I'm making a statement, I find it so difficult. A president should be somebody who is ready to die for everybody. Is that not it?
Yeah.
But if you're not ready to die for everybody, but just to die for your own, then we are in trouble. Because right now, as I'm speaking, not a single soul has been arrested and prosecuted. All the hope is being put on this commission of inquiry. I'll read to you from the UK. If you are applying for visa, I'll read to you what constitutes. Permit me. I know I'm taking a bit of time, but permit me. I think I need to say some of the agenda or the issues very straightforward, so that those who doubt can go and read it. I'm trying to read about something that constitutes terrorism. If you are applying for a UK visa, there's a question that they ask you. And if you go to those questions, according to the visa unit, that constitutes what called terrorism. They can go and read about it. Now the question is, have you ever been involved in supported or encouraged terrorist activity in any country? That's a question they'll ask you. I've gone through this before, that's why I'm very key on this very issue. Now, let's see how they define the terrorism or the terrorist act. Permit me. Terrorist activities are any act committed or the threat of action designed to influence a government or intimidate the public and made for the purposes of advancing a political, religious, or ideological cause, and that 1. Involves serious violence against a person. 2. May endanger another person's life. 3. Create a serious risk to the health or safety of the public. 4. Involve serious damage to property. And last, is designed to seriously disrupt or interfere with an electronic system. This is what they put under the Terrorism Act. So if you look at this critically, what this is telling you is that at the moment we can even consider these militia groups as terrorists. We can consider them as a terrorist because it's not part of our regular system. And even the other act also is a criminal act because that can be put under Terrorism Act. They say cause of harm to any person or disrupting the process. That's actually what happened that day. But as of now, the president is relying heavily on commission's work to be able to do something. So the call from the minority on the president to resign is in the right direction. Now, what's the next step supposed to be for minority? Is to begin a process to impeach the president. I think where we have gotten to now, there is enough evidence that they can go through the legal process to get this man out before something else happened to Ghana. Before I conclude on that part, I would also like to share something briefly regarding what our when the president is taking oath of office. There is a last part which is very critical to our brainstorming. I will just jump along, and that goes like this. And I further solemnly swear that should I at any time break this oath of office, I shall submit myself to the laws of the Republic and suffer the penalty for it. So help me God. He made this declaration when he was taking the oath of office. Now you are using a state property as a training ground for militia groups. This alone can take him off. This alone, based on his own oath, can take him off. They can come and tell us that they're training for different processes here and there, but I tell you that it's not allowed. Even they themselves come out clearly that they are being trained for some deployment or some work somewhere. Which work is that? The castle, which work is that? What has happened at Ayaoso, we don't want to see it again. We want a peaceful Ghana, because this is the only place we have. My appeal to the president, if you don't want to do the job, he should not wait before he's impeached. He should just resign and go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Justice Moses Aheto. That's our discussion on the first topic. If you just join or listening to Mother Talk shows, here we say it as I said, frank talk and very honest and straight to the point. And in the studio with me today, you had Dr. Justice Moses Aheto. I also have Honorable Alhaji A.B.F. Hussaini, Member of Parliament for Sanyarugu constituency. He is very critically the spokesperson for the minority in Parliament. Adib Sani, Security Analyst and Executive Director at Jatike Center for Human Security and Peace Building. Desmond Chumesinto is National Organizer for the PNC, plays a critical role in the Coalition for National Sovereignty. And don't forget the show is produced by, it's sponsored actually, Franco Trading, Cologne Ghana Limited, TT Brothers, and Mobile Water. My name is Sena Nombo, and I go to Mr. Chumesinto before I come and read your comments on PAB MCGH. Don't also forget that you can also share your thought with us on 0233 995905, 0233 995905, and that is our WhatsApp number. And well, just a little change. Let's listen to Alhaji A.B.F. Hussaini before we come to Mr. Chumesinto.
Thank you very much, Sana. Let me say good morning to the listeners of the great Radio Good and to this indefatigable program, Alhaji And Alhaji, undoubtedly the Master Talk Show. Let me say good morning to my good people of the Brichina people of the Sanyarugu constituency and to the Northern region in general. My brother, we are living in very interesting times. You see, if you tout your credentials as a person who has an undisputed knack for holding down secrets, just try to eat a crab in secret, and that will be your day of exposure and humiliation. This government touts its credentials to be able to do things in the secret. I am telling you, on these militia things and this vigilante thing, that the government has been exposed big time. And as I've said, the higher the monkey climbs, the more exposed the buttocks. Every passing day, this government is being exposed big time for Ghanaians to really know the true character of this government. And Senna, I have no doubt in my mind. Our people say it, that if a dog will first bite you, a dog will bite you, it will first show you its teeth. The menace of vigilantism, not vigilantism today, but now even the formation, funding, and arming of militias is the knack of this government. I will crave your indulgence to go back a bit, but for the purposes of the fact that I speak for the minority, I would want to just read why, because the issue has come up as to the minority calling for the resignation of the president. And I just want, with your permission, to just read just the decisive aspects of our press conference yesterday, at which we made the call and why we have made the call. And I'm quoting, undoubtedly, one of the most chilling disclosures is the very audible confession of the militia's chief of staff, Mr. Fraser Owureku Keja, who tells his militia members on the 10th of December, take note of the date, on the 10th of December 2018. I'm telling you to take note of the date because I will come back to it. Who tells his militia members on the 10th of December 2018 about how President Akufo-Addo was impressed with the group's output at the December 7th, 2018 Dombo event, at which President Akufo-Addo was special guest of honor. Mr. Keja I'm continuing, revealed how President Akufo-Addo directly inquired with enormous pride if the group he saw at the Dombo event were, quote, his children who operate from the castle. Take note whether these were his children who operate from the castle. Mr. Keja adds that President Akufo-Addo was not shocked to see the group and that the president was very proud of how his militia had taken shape. I'm continuing the quote. Ladies and gentlemen, this special Joy News investigative report has exposed the pretentious and deceptive character of President Akufo-Addo. Apparently, whereas President Akufo-Addo publicly engages in lofty rhetoric about the urgent need to disband political party militias, he is busily nurturing many more militias behind the scenes. A clear case of preaching virtue and practicing vice, unquote. So you can see why our call for his resignation is underlain by very, very serious betrayals. And I think that my colleague talked about breaches of the fundamental oath of office. And I've said that when President Akufo-Addo on January 7, 2017 swore the oath of allegiance and oath of office and all the oaths that he swore to protect every Ghanaian. He did not swear to protect MPP members. He did not swear to come and work for the interests of MPP members. But sadly today, 2 years down the line, we are having a government of the MPP. The definition of democracy by the MPP now is a government of the MPP, by the MPP, for the MPP. You can see, and as we go along, you see deliberate actions to protect only MPP members, whether they are job opportunities or infractions of the law, where people brazenly break the law, and they are MPP people, they will take every step to protect them. And so you see it as we go. I just read this to you for emphasis. But you see, Sana, they say if you are suffering in hell, blame death. If you see a funeral being performed today, there has been a death before. Or if there's an adoring, there was a birth before. Today's terrorists were ordinary people who were groomed by some other people yesterday. So this menace of militia or militiaism, as people are saying today, why does it have to take the coming of President Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP government for this phenomena to be the talk of the nation? How come in the previous we did not have them of that scale? And I want to make that clear-cut distinction, because there are people, especially our colleagues in the MPP, when they want to obfuscate issues, they try to say that, oh, in previous by-elections, you had some amount of political violence. Certainly, yes. But you see, you don't compare in the academic kingdom. You don't compare in terms of hierarchy a university professor to a JSS graduate. They are not on the same par. When you talked about those party political groupings who were instrumental in fomenting violence in by-elections, what has happened under the aegis of Nana Akufo-Addo and his government, and especially in the run-up to the 2016 election, has no comparison. You are talking about a situation where you are now elevating some of these party vigilantes and others, elevating them to a situation where they are now fully fledged trained agents. You remember in the run-up, and I'm sure during this morning, you played the tape where His Excellency President Mahama was giving credence to the distinction between the two, where in the case of the MPP, they brought in mercenaries from South Africa and Serbia to train people in warfare, basically, to handle weapons and virtually for combat. Never in the annals of our country's history has groupings in parties been culturally constituted and trained in weapon handling and for combat. Okay? Then fast forward to Nana Akufo-Addo's assumption of power. And what has happened? You have had these hoodlums, bloodthirsty goons, now being ferreted into the national security apparatus. You just talked about Dobo, who, when you spell his name, if you can't recognize it. They are qualified people who have applied to join national security, to join some of these institutions. They have not had the opportunity. Somebody whose name, when it is written in front of you, can recognize it. He has an easy stay. Mobile food seller at Circle, given 3 weeks training, and he qualifies. So you now see the caliber of people who are now being pushed into a national security establishment on account of their purely partisan political loyalties. So, Senna, the two by no stretch of any logic can be compared. So while you are busy, number one, pushing your people into the national security apparatus, so that on election day in 2020 and maybe subsequent elections, they will parade under the facade of being state institutions. They will wear national security uniform, and because that is a state institution, they have a legitimate and free pass to wreak havoc on any police station across this country that they want. At the time when you are supposed to be, as it were, working and calling for the disbandment of militias, there are militia groups that are being trained, even as we speak, more of them. So, Sana, I've been saying that is why the NDC said that the president's call was not only pretentious, it was deceptive. Because you see, it's like when you have your mouth full of water and you signal to us that you are going to blow to the candle fire. We don't need you to even start the exercise for us to know that you are deceptive. Because as soon as you want to talk on the distance, all the fire will go off. You are not going to blow to the candle the fire. You are going to extinguish the fire. So we don't need anybody to tell us. Ab initio, it is very clear that these are your intentions, and your intentions are anything but noble. And I want to say, without any iota of hesitation, and let me take this opportunity to commend Manasseh Azure. Yes, Massa, there's no work of a human being, if you take it as a critic, that you cannot find any flaw. But I'm saying that the fact that he was able to come out with this expose signals him, along with the Anasis and the others, as patriots who are committed to saving this country from the menacing debacle of vigilantism. And so he deserves our commendation and support. I just hope Ghanaians will not just sit by, and because I read of some response of some group, and it was like it was threatening. Okay? And it is important for all Ghanaians to stand up and lend their requisite level of support. Ever since this expose, and I told you that when I was reading this thing, that the statement made by government and my very honorable colleague, Honorable Kojo Ponkruma, Minister for Information, I listened to him attempting on a number of things to say, for instance, that this militia group at the castle, operating at the castle, was just a convergence point for people who were looking for jobs. And that among others, these are just harmless people who congregate there to see how their standard of living can be enhanced. And that even occasionally people go there to do even some exercise. I'm now hearing that the castle is now a very big gym where people converge for exercises. And that among others, this office had been closed down as far back as October 2018. Listen to the date. In the response that he gave, said as far back as October 2018, the office had been closed down. Which office had been closed down? There are very important questions that we ask. And that Nana Akufo-Addo who is seen as the commander of the group, was only given that office for him to chase NDC people and retrieve cars. And that subsequently, he illegally converted the offices to do some other business without the knowledge and approval of government. And that, among others, bizarrely, the castle is no longer, the castle is not a security zone. I was shocked to hear that the castle is not a security zone, and that no evidence has been adduced to give credence to this December 7th Dombo conference that was mentioned in this. Among others, and Joy FM, the Joy that they have touted for all these years has suddenly become a very malicious organization, and that this thing that was done was just an attempt to ridicule and embarrass His Excellency the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, and not an expose on government. So these are the issues that he has raised. My brother, the castle, without any shred of doubt, is a very important security zone. My brother, Sana, you just get up from here when we finish this program. Get up and see whether you can just get up and go and walk into the castle.
I was even there recently.
Yes, you just go.
Surprised when they said
exactly, and see whether when you get to the castle gate, you can just walk inside. Even as a member of parliament, when I get there, I have to go and fill a form. They will have to call whoever, interview me, find out. And even at the end of it, when I go, they will search me like a criminal.
The machine, they will check you.
Apart from the machine, physically.
You can't enter with you.
They will even search you to the point that they want to touch certain parts of your body, which are reserved for the domestic owner. Okay? So to come and even try to rationalize that the castle is not a security zone, it's incredible. I cannot for a moment believe that in the attempt to rationalize it. This is how far this government can go. And as we speak, there are a number of ministers operating from the castle. The Zongo minister, Honorable Mustafa Hamid, my brother Mustafa, he's operating from the castle. Honorable Minister for Planning. Okay? What is the name of Jambafo? Professor Jambafo. He's operating from the castle. Honorable Hawa Kumsi, Minister for Special Development, is operating from the castle. Even Honorable Damboche, Minister for Regional Reorganization, was operating from the castle. I hear that even Honorable Roxin Bukari, Minister of State, okay, at the presidency, is operating from the castle. So you have all these other people operating from the castle, which is clearly without any shred of doubt a security zone. And so you ask yourself, how did such an important edifice, important state institution, until just a few years ago, which was the seat of government, become a haven for militia activity? How did the I people get access? Because you see, to be allocated offices and space and the castle has to come from the highest level of government. So now you try and see whether you can even get, I'm not even talking of an office, space to sit down for even 1 hour. Can you get at the castle? For you to get offices, now not office. This, the I group, was giving offices at the castle. Okay? Where they operated free range. We saw in the pictures dresses of black and white, isn't it?
Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Very good.
Dressing. And they use military terminology. Bravo, Charlie, those things. Names that they give to elite units of well-organized security establishments. So if you haven't stolen, why are you running in a market? You are not a military or quasi-military or paramilitary organization, and the organization, the salute, the style, all those that they did, we saw all of that in the video. That lent up ample credence to the fact that this is unmistakably a militia. and they themselves by their own words. The man who styles himself as chief of staff, this Mr. Kejaman, says they have over 5,000 members. Okay?
Yeah.
Over 5,000. And as late as 21st December, a big Christmas party was thrown for them in the castle, where they sang, ate, drank champagne, wine, and all the choicest foods. Late into the night, celebrated and prepared themselves for work. And they, by their own statement, the chief of staff and the commander, they indicated that they have a role to play in the protection of ballot boxes. Go back and listen. They have a role to play in the protection of ballot boxes. Well, are they employees of the Electoral Commission? Which part of our laws give them the authority to function as electoral officers? So it tells you, and in their pronouncements, they have made it abundantly clear their loyalty to President Nana Akufo-Addo. And indeed, Mr. Addo, Weku Addo, unmistakably, has been linked to President Nana Akufo even as far back as his opposition days. He was his personal guard. Indeed, they trusted him so much that he was one of the key bodyguards of Nana Akufo-Addo. Master, if you don't even know anybody, you don't trust him. Even knowing people is not even enough. Trust. You must tell somebody to even make him your bodyguard. So if somebody has ever been so close to you that he could become your bodyguard, he is undoubtedly somebody you know and know very well. So this is somebody the president knows. So my brother, let nobody come and tell those stories they are telling should better be told to some people who, I'm sure, unless they believe that we Ghanaians, we have sand in our heads, that anybody can come and sell such very discredited stories to us. But I'm just saying for the record that it cannot be true that the events has happened and anybody who watches the video will see those who convert there as just converting for jobs. Why? Is it a labor office for people to convert there for jobs? It is not. The activities that they indulge in, they say that if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, behaves like a duck, it must be a duck. So there are not people congregating there just for jobs. There are people congregating there for militia activities. And when we say this militia, it is by no stretch of logic to just say that all the training must happen at the castle. Why? Have we not heard that at a Sujari? They take people to a Sujari to go and train there. This mobile phone, now who has transmogrified overnight into a national security, is in protecting people at the VVIP. Didn't he say that he received training at a Sujari?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
So it is on record that Sujari has been used as a staging post for the training of some of these party hoodlums, some of whom they are migrating into the national security establishment. And so I see this attempt by government, to deny the obvious. And I don't envy my colleague Honorable Kojo Mponkrumah a bit. He's in a very difficult position to defend. My brother, it's not easy to defend the indefensible. When you are looking at a horse and they say you should call it a donkey. It's an unenviable task. You see, enough we said it that, you see, it is comparison that disgraces the donkey. When the donkey alone is running, you think it's the fastest animal. Let the horse join the race to smoke the dust of the horse. So this is the situation in which we find ourselves today. And I think that it is very, very important for all of us as a people to rise up and ensure that this country is rescued from that. We had been forewarned, but I'm saying that even before that, my brother, let's look at the record as it is today. And we are talking about serious articles. I heard the president say both NDC and MPP should sit down and talk and solve the problem. I've just said that in the first case, it's even hypocritical. While he's even calling for the talks, he's arming and getting militias, even more militias even being formed, putting some of them in national security establishment. So even ab initio, that is insincere. Okay? But even as that is being done, there is a clear admission that this is a problem that is beyond MPP and NDC. It's a Ghanaian problem. It's a problem for the entirety of this country. So it is important for all of us as a people to rise up and participate in finding a solution to the problem. And like my colleague spoke for the first time when he spoke on this matter, that me and you, Sana, me and you, we are fighting. We don't trust each other. Okay? NDC doesn't trust MPP, MPP doesn't trust NDC. We go and sit down between ourselves. What solution can you bring out?
Absolutely nothing. Nothing.
You haven't finished wrestling with Peter, you are bringing Paul. You can't even sort yourselves out. So it simply tells you that in our balance, you need a mediator. And not just a mediator, a credible mediator in whom you all have trust and confidence. Is that not the case? So if the NDC in sending communication to you, the Excellency, the President, indicating to you that your prognosis on going about this is flawed here, why don't you get some other people involved as impartial negotiators who will help us to get to the bottom of the matter? What is that not a brilliant suggestion? My brother, a problem that encompasses is even bigger than the two of you. Why should the two of you alone sit down and solve it? Because today, the menace of militiarism is beyond MPP and DC. Yeah. It's a problem for the entirety of the good people of this country. For every concerned Ghanaian, every well-meaning Ghanaian, to be part of the solution. And so it's not just MPP and DC. In fact, all the other political parties, the civil society, the clergy, all other well-meaning Ghanaians, as many well-meaning Ghanaians and organizations as we can get, should be part of that solution. So you know why? Because because of the insincerity of the proposal from the MPP and the president, they don't want many Ghanaians involved so that it becomes a binding commitment on them. And I'm saying this for the record. When in the run-up to the 2016 elections, the MPP at a press conference at the party headquarters declared a vote of no confidence in the security services, especially the police, and self-noted that they were not going to comply. They were not going to cooperate with the police. Indeed, there was an invitation from the police CID to investigate a fraud matter. They refused to comply. Okay, so if there's no confidence from the security services and they come into power, and the next thing is the setting up of the vigilantes, the last thing they will want is the dismantling of those vigilantes. Because, like I said, there is an ulterior motive to use them for 2020, and the evidence abounds. In fact, some of the people who were beating Honorable Sam George in the Ayawasu West Wogon by-election carnage that the party MPP goons, bloodthirsty goons, went to inflict on the people there. They said that this one was just a snake, a scorpion. The snake is coming. That the mayhem they had was just a dress rehearsal for 2020, and that we should wait and see what will unfold in 2020. You see, and I have had the benefit of listening to two brilliant police officers, ACP Agozo and Commissioner of Police Kofi Boachi. They have all talked about this same issue and the fact that the security services, especially the police, have had their hands tied behind their backs. Yeah. Look, it is not for nothing that if you look at the activities of the Delta forces, the activities of the invisible forces, the activities of the Kandahar boys, the activities of the Bwakatanga Bulldogs, just look at the MPP militia groups. They have wreaked havoc across the length and breadth of what used to be the 10 regions of this country. We now have 16. But before that, the 10. There was not a single region in this country that escaped their menace. Okay? even including the vandalization of duly constituted courts of law. Today, have you heard of the case again? Have you heard of the cases that was going on against them again? Have you heard? All the other issues of violence that they have read across the length and breadth of the country. Have you heard of anything again? They've smoothed them out. And even in the case of where the court had even found them guilty, that money, before they went to court, that they had been told to come with some money. That is the fine they were going to. And the party gave them the monies to go and pay the fine. And nothing has happened. In the case of this, the I group at the castle, if you listen to the video very carefully, you would hear them, the commander, saying that, oh, there was only 1 week in which he was happy that they didn't commit any, members did not commit any crime. But that almost every week there are crimes they commit, and they have to call them to use their connections to smoothing them out. So it tells us clearly that there are a group of people here, by virtue of their party affiliation with the New Patriotic Party, they can go out and commit all the crimes. Nothing happens to them. Let a Ghanaian even brush anybody, they will charge you for assault. And you'll be in court. MP people, they can beat people to pulp. Nothing happens to them. Even one of their communicators, he suffered those things. What do they call him? No, Bonhafu.
Yes, Brunye.
Yes. You know, in fact, the first time I saw the pictures, after he had been beaten, I mistook him for an Egyptian mummy. He was bandaged from head to foot.
Yes, it's true.
Okay? Pummeled by his own people. You understand? So all these despicable things have happened, and in the face of that, there is no action. Because the police have been rendered impotent under this government. In fact, if we're living in a civilized society, before the video finished airing, the police would have been at the castle to arrest all those miscreants.
So
the IGP doesn't need to wait for anybody or take instructions from anybody to act. He has powers. But I'm sure you have seen and heard about the helplessness of the IGP. Because it says if you go and catch an invisible person, invisible force, the next day they'll announce his removal from office. Petrified into inaction, and they're looking behind their shoulders. They cannot act. So this is the state of comatose. Very serious threat to our not only to our democracy, but to our peace, order, and stability as a nation. Look, Ghana commands enormous respect in the ranks of the international community. They don't just treat us like any other country, because they know that Ghana is the black star of Africa. We blaze the trail of the anti-colonial struggle and open the floodgates for all other African nations to liberate themselves from the yoke of colonialism. So Ghana is treated immensely with respect. When there has been turmoil in the sub-region of West Africa, Ghana, by the grace of Allah Almighty, has been spared. Thanks to the legendary founder of this nation, Osajefu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who welded us into a monolithic whole. And even today, the legendary status of that person who welded us into a monolithic whole and made us the universally acclaimed nation all nations across the world want to associate with. Today, they are busy running him down. They are trying to whittle down his status as the founder of the nation and bring in political midgets, political failures, who could not match up, some of whom could never even win one election in their own areas, to the stature of Osajefu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So, my brother, I think there's a lot to be said about this militia thing, but I just want to urge all Ghanaians who love this country, who want this country to remain peaceful, orderly, and stable, who want this country to be the respected country that at the time President John Dramani Mahama handed over to President Nana Akufo-Addo were touted in the annals of the international community. Those who want this country to remain credible along these lines must stand up, must get up and speak and get themselves involved. Indeed, I heard, I don't know, I'm not very conversant with the titles in Christendom. Sometimes some say Reverend Doctor, Reverend Apostle. Yeah, so maybe if you address somebody wrongly, you may get, it's like a rank in the army. If he's a general and you go and call him a colonel, you can get yourself into trouble. So our father, Ejinasare, I don't know, how do you address him?
I think he's a bishop now.
He's a bishop.
Yeah,
Bishop Ejinasare. I listened to him, and he exuded a lot of wisdom by calling for a multi-pronged approach. And you play the tape. That this is not a matter for MPP and DC. So that in the MPP, anytime you make matters MPP and DC, they make rubbish of it. Because they say you go and do this, it's against MPP people, or you do that, it's against NDC people, and you rubbish it, and the issues get buried. Okay, so it's a matter for all Ghanaians, and I endorse in toto, together with what our flag bearer, President Mahama, has said, that we have to involve every Ghanaian, all credible institutions, all well-meaning institutions, so that together we all craft a national program to make sure that these party militias are uprooted and consigned to the doldrums of history.
Okay.
So that in our democracy, in our elections from 2020 upwards, we endeavor to ensure that it is only the supreme will of the Ghanaian people expressed in transparent, free and fair and credible elections. That will only is the will that should be respected, and not the interference of hoodlums, bloodthirsty goons who would come to snatch ballot boxes, create mayhem in polling stations, that a political party that has funded them will come. I think that all of us must resolutely rise up and not just speak and fight against that menace.
Okay.
I think it is in our supreme interest as a nation so to do.
Thank you very much. Alhaji ABF Hussaini speaks for the minority. Don't forget, our WhatsApp number is 0233995905, 0233995905. Join the conversation. Also, if you're watching on Pub MCGH, just use the comment section to share your views with us, your thoughts on what we are discussing this morning. If you just join us, you are listening and watching the Mother of All Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. And a couple of messages on Pub MCGH. Nelson Tete says, what Nanado is doing now is just what Buhari did to win again. We must be very careful about. Late Professor Mills, King Farouk says that late Professor Mills was vilified, castigated and insulted by MPP for allowing worship and prayers to be done at the castle. Today, they are in power and have turned same places into a training ground for terrorists. God save our dear nation from evil. Evangelist Christopher Mensah Gamli says that Senator, this confirms Kofi Kumson's cry. He can't close his eyes if this country is handed over into the hands of Akufo-Addo. I think we as Ghanaians must learn from this and make a wise and better choice by voting for John Mahama come 2020. But my membership card has not come to me yet, over a year now. He sent that from Ogbojo East Legon. Charles Nyamena Samankese says, isn't it funny how the NPP want to suggest they believe in a doctored audio tape more than a video exposing their corrupt deals and state of insecurity venture? No wonder Manasseh, who was a saint to them when he did the Ford expedition story, has now become a devil just because he has shown to Ghanaians how this government is so mean to the safety of the very people who have vowed to protect. Musa Abato and Kumasi says, there is something seriously wrong with Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah. The guy is a... From the video, the militias had their end of year party on December 2018 at the castle. So how can Oppong-Nkrumah come and tell us that the group was cleared in August 2018? In any case, Eugene Ahin said there was no group operating at the castle. So how come a group that never existed? How can a group that never existed be cleared? They think we don't reason, like some of their supporters. Is it the reason President Akufo-Addo is running away from the inclusion of the representatives of Peace Council, police, military and media in relation to disbanding vigilante groups? Hashtag God Save Ghana. And that's from Musa Abato and Kumasi. Kwame Ejepon Dankwa says, what at all is happening in Ghana? is it media hype, or is true we have another set of vigilante group at the presidency harness? Let's remember we account for how we helped in building our nation, either positively or negatively in future. Let's watch what we do for political expediency today. I equal to all Ghanaian women, especially my mom, Nana Ata Berego, and well, that is coming from Otumfo from Crossfire Ghana, and also Kwame Japan Dankwa. Here again now. Well, I think it repeats the same message. President Kwame Arito says, government statement on Manasseh expose. Quote, the group is not a militia group. It is a recruitment agency, unquote. The same government statement says that the group's, quote, the group's operations has been closed down from a castle in October 2018, unquote. So why will you close down a recruitment agency? Who in his senses will operate a recruitment agency in such a secret place? Ironically, Nanado is training his militants at the castle where he has set up a commission to unravel the Ayawaso shootings. Nanado thinks Ghanaians are fools. We send them from Kasua, Old Barrier. Baba Musa Shaban says, Senna, please take this up. A certain Sergeant Abaye, I think so, yesterday was detained by a Bema Company military police guard room over argument on the DI operation at the castle debacle. He was subsequently reported as having insulted a Kufuado. That led to his detention. Please investigate it. And he continues to say, talking about the MPP hoodlums, MPP Double said he received training in how to handle small weapons during his 3 weeks training at Asuchari, yet he was confidently carrying AK-47 rifle at Ayawaso West Wagon. We are no longer safe in Ghana. This was how Boko Haram started in Nigeria. This is a very difficult name. I think it's Ekan McLean Erickson says, in fact, the statement issued by Kojo Pronkuma is damage goods, and if it was in a hospital, it can be best described as brought in dead. Apia Samuel says, my brother, tell NDC leaders to open their eyes because Nanado, and because of the way they talk to themselves. Michael Afenu says, I have found 2 new friends in Ghana called Manasseh Azuri and Anas. Congratulations, guys. Catherine Fiano says, our flag bearer JDM must seek external assistance. That UN forces from other countries to assist and curb mayhem planned by the Akufo-Addo and his militia. Abigail Tego says, Ghana has an army. Why train an auxiliary one? Matthew Tabliba says, my producer, if the castle is no longer a security zone, why do they maintain a 5 nautical mile radius no-go area at sea for ships? Combat Medic says, he is watching live from Lebanon. Ibrahim Kadiri Danjuman says, Sena, you're doing great this morning. I greet your panelists for doing good to the discussion. Tikuzemi Shaka says, if war occurs in Ghana, bear in mind, none of these French-speaking countries will be nice to you like you have been to Liberia. The youth should always think about this. Thanks. PSA Mami Adobia says, what happened to those who have been employed into various sectors? Communal Acidity. Some of these names are very difficult. But it says, if government and peace council is not aware of this militia group, then government is sleeping on its job. Ghana can be attacked by terrorists without government knowledge. It's better Akufo-Addo should resign immediately. Kukia Benedictus says, please, I want to know if Peace Council has watched the video. That's an interesting question. Margot Kelvin Nana Pepra says, there's always evil in our politicians. Opoin is gradually becoming a political vampire. Solomon Kumbate says, good morning, Radio Gold. These days, some of us don't go to church because our religious leaders are on the presidential payroll. I off radio anytime they are preaching. Esai Kong says that, Sena, good morning, bro, and your panelist, Kojo Oponkoma, is a big disgrace to the office he occupied today. Manasseh is not credible, just contradicting itself. He sent that from Spanner Junction. TJ Tijani Baba Ajimpa says, we should never trust Nanado. He has nothing good to offer Ghanaians. GM is our hope, and may Allah bless you guys too. Derek Zah says, good morning, Senna, and to your panelists. Can you educate me on how our security officers are being recruited? because I don't understand why someone who claimed to be a security operative can't communicate in simple English. What qualifications do they use to enter into the service? Amigos, GSS, NDC must stop making noise and defend the party and their life, boot for boot. Boot for boot is the only option. We have to be ready for war. That is all. Washington Darling says, good morning, Senna, and your panel members, for the wonderful work you're doing for Mother Ghana. The NDC must not take things lightly with the NPP government, and especially Nanado. The NPP and Nanado is not ready to disband their militia. Senna, check that. Okay. Well, we'll do that. I'll draw my producer's attention. You, Farouk in Tamale, says, good morning to you, my humble Senna, and to your panelists. No wonder Kofi Kumsing, a leading member of the NPP, said he can't sleep with his eyes open. Nanado became president of Ghana. And so those are some of the messages you are sending to us through our through PAPS MCGA. Those of you watching us on Facebook. This one from Fafa Numako says, good morning, Senna. Please, tomorrow tomorrow will be the birthday of Mommy Clarissa. Wish her a happy birthday in advance. Please, the good Lord know what you are going through. Mommy, be still and know that the Lord is with you. Stay blessed. That's from Fafa Numako to Mommy Clarissa, as she calls her. So let's go now to Mr. Nto.
Thank you, sir. Let me first of all greet all your cherished listeners this morning and my fellow panelists here. And I also bring you greetings from the headquarters of People's National Convention, PNC. And even though our leader is at large, he is operating from his clinic and the party headquarters, since the president has decided not to give him an office, but rather give an office to his militia group. And so
after the big announcement, he has no office.
Yes, honorable. And
from the PNC party office.
That's right, and his clinic. And so he prefers to give an office to a militia group rather than a party leader who you claim has more knowledge and policies that he even lent to his own government, the then Kufuor's government, that's the National Health Insurance, and you claim he knows what it is to become an ambassador at large, and instead of you giving him an office to operate from, you rather prefer giving the office to your militia group. So kudos to the government and the president of the day. But we'll keep on operating from our clinics as well as our party office, and we tell well and we'll keep on telling Ghanaians that we are a peace-loving party, and going forward they should expect more from the PNC. Senna, the topic before us this morning is centered around vigilantism. Now, myself and my chairman, you remember events that happened at the Ayawaso West Wogon election on the 31st of January, compelled us to come out with some press statements after the event, as well as a demonstration which involved various political parties and civil society groups. We went on demonstration to tell Ghanaians that, look, we feel that the country is not safe under the current administration, and there's a need for us to demonstrate to Ghanaians, for Ghanaians to know that, look, some of us, as when I say some of us, some of the political parties don't support the idea of these militants and ballot box protectors and what have you. We believe in clean elections, and when you win clean. But what do we see here? You realize that the whole of this year, from January up to date, Ghanaians who stood in the sun to vote for the MPP government have not heard any meaningful or productive words coming from the presidency or from the government of the day, apart from today we wake up and we hear about militants, vigilantism, shooting, and what have you. Is that what Ghanaians voted for? Ghanaians voted for a peaceful and the kind of country that we belong to. But at the end of the day, what do we see? We see acts of violence, kidnapping, beating of ordinary citizens, and at the end of the day, you realize that most people's lives are at risk. Sometimes you will be there and somebody will call you, organizer, what is happening in Accra? We hear there's shooting here, we hear there's this here, but at the end of the day, does it bring something on the table? You see, what's happening in the country allows me to say that the president is not in control of what is really happening. Because if the president is indeed in control of affairs of this country, I don't think what is happening will be happening. Why am I saying this? See, we are here and we are being told that the castle is not a security zone. Yet, national security cars and government agencies go there to take fuel. So why don't they take the fuel at the Flagstaff House or take the fuel at any other filling station, but rather go there to take the fuel? It's because that place is meant for them. And so if you come out and tell us that, look, that place is not a security zone, then obviously you are not in control. Let me also tell you one thing. If the president says that he is not aware of those groups in the castle, and that I'm surprised the information minister came out with such press conference. It's needless. You know, things have been discovered there that this is what is going on. All you need to come and tell us that, look, fine, the president came out to say let's disband vigilante groups, but unfortunately we were trying to train our groups, and so based on what the president has come out to say, we have disbanded our group. I think Ghanaians will be more understanding to this than for you to come out and say that, look, there is nothing going on, and at the end of the day you are even trying to narrow it down to an extent that, oh, it's just so does it mean that they are having fun? Are they playing football there? Are they playing ampe or playing football? You hear them saying words that are being used at the camps. You hear the commander saying certain words that clearly shows that, look, what is going on there is like training of troops to go and handle situations. And you come and tell us that it's a recruitment agency. For Christ's sake, we all know where recruitment agencies are and what they do. If you are looking for employment, you can seek advice from any of these agencies. And so they should tell us the kind of agencies that they have recruited those people. They should come out and tell us what is really on the ground. But you see, sometimes I don't blame the president so much. I blame the people who are handling some of this information. They don't tell the president the truth. And so the president also comes out in public and sometimes disgraces himself. Because from the statement he made at the State of the Nation's address, it's like somebody who is planting weed in his farm, and then yet he comes out to say weed smoking is not good. What do you make of it? Because at your own backyard, you knew very well that this is going on. Yet you came out and you say, let's disband these vigilante groups. And I'm now getting the understanding why he said he wants only NDC and MPP to meet. Do you know why? You see, I've been saying this, and I'll keep on saying this. The NDC and the MPP, they have been ruling this country for quite a long time now. NPP comes, NDC came, NPP came, NDC came, NPP is back. So it's like they are doing that kind of rub my back and let me rub your back. Now, two people are fighting. There is issue at stake. This issue involves Ghanaians. It involves people who have wasted their time, spent a lot of money traveling from places to go and vote for you. And then we are saying that, look, what is happening, we don't like it. So come out and say no to it. Then you come back and tell us that, look, we just want the two of us to go and be in a secret room and then mediate. How can two people, if I'm fighting with you, and then Doc says, okay, the two of you, once you are fighting, just enter to this room and then solve your issues and come back. Do you think it's going to be possible? It's not. And so why will he come and say other political parties don't have vigilante groups? You see, sometimes when they say other political parties don't have vigilante groups, I laugh. You know why? You see, it's not about me having people and then putting them, clothing them with T-shirts, labeling them. That allows me to say I have vigilante groups. Sometimes, speaking on air, people are listening to us. I make a comment, and maybe Honorable's comment, I don't agree with him. It turns out a bit of, disagreement. And then when we go off, my people will say, what happened? This man, he thinks he knows too much, or he thinks, let's attack him. That is where a problem starts from. And you might not know who will be attacking him. And because when I'm coming, I don't come with macho men or what have you. You claim that I don't have vigilante group. It's wrong. It's wrong, because even as I'm speaking here, an MPP man will support what I'm saying, and an NDC man will also support what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, when it happens that one of them disagrees, even an MPP man can fight for me, or an NDC man can fight for me. And what happens? It escalates, and it becomes an issue. And so for the president of the day, you've been given the opportunity to address this issue. You come out, and the only thing you have to tell us that, oh, those people, so far as you are concerned, they don't have vigilante groups, so you don't need them. It's a shame. It's a big shame. And the highest hypocrisy of the day, or order. Because at the end of the day, he knows very well that he has this at his backyard. That is why he's making those statements. And yet we have people who come out to defend. Instead of them to condemn, they are rather defending it. It's a shame. And sometimes I pity my friends who come out and say what our brother Manasseh did is wrong, and at the end of the day we shouldn't take it serious. Why shouldn't we take it serious? Must we wait for the whole 5,000 people to be equipped with guns before we come out and say that, hey, stop this? No, it is in the right direction. When he did the investigation about former president, the Ford car, what did they say? They were praising him. You go on social media, everybody was praising him. Now, they said he wants to bring down NPP. I don't know how true that statement is, but I've been seeing on various social media saying Kennedy Japan said he gave him 1,500 to support his, undercover work. And then at the end of the day, he is trying to bring the MPP down. And so if things of this nature is happening in the country. You don't want us to talk about it. You want us to sit down. But the president said we shouldn't just be spectators.
Yeah.
So why do they want us to be spectators on this? We can never be spectators on this. That is why some of us, we said, we will always make sure we defend the sovereignty of Ghana. And look, come next week, I'm going to make sure I bring most of the minority parties together. If there's a need for us to either demonstrate or come out with a press conference to condemn this, we'll do that. Because at the end of the day, if we don't come out to do this, Ghanaians are going to lose hope in the politician. I keep on saying a time will come, nobody will go out there and vote. And that is exactly what happened in Ayawaso. Because of the shooting and the intimidation, people didn't come out to vote. Look at what happened in Nigeria.
Yeah.
How many people went to vote? And so do we want that in Ghana? And I have realized something about this particular government. You see, immediately the president was sworn into office, his target was, how am I going to win 2020 elections? And as a matter of fact, they started planning how to win 2020. And instead of them planning how to help Ghanaians arrest the dollar, save farmers from their condition, help Ghanaians to be able to get 3 square meals a day, they are rather targeting how to be able to win power in 2020. And everything that is happening now clearly shows that they are not thinking about the ordinary Ghanaian, but rather they are focusing on 2020. The tactics, the plans they want to use for 2020. Why will you be training somebody to go and protect ballot box in 2018, 2017, 2019? And you see, I sometimes think that our system, we need to do overhauling in our political system. Because in some countries, and of course we are learning from these so-called Western countries and what have you, I don't think the whole 4 years they go on radio and always be discussing about politics. They have a time. But what do we see here? From 7 January 2017 to date, we either discuss NPP or NDC, and we forget about the ordinary Ghanaian. We forget about the voter. And so all our plans are how to win power. What happens if the person who is going to vote for us decide that this time I am not going to vote? Will you go and call all your family to come and vote? And so we have to be careful as politicians, the way we address issues. And as a president and the commander-in-chief, you need to come out clear for Ghanaians to, feel why they voted for you, and not to be crying and be wailing and saying, I have regretted voting. That is what is happening. Now you go out there, people have regretted. And you see, another reason why this government is trying to train these militia groups and those vigilante groups is that they've realized that Ghanaians has lost hope in them. And so the only tactics is to win rough tactics. They have to play it rough to win. It's like you are going into a game and you realize that this game, there's no way you can score. So what you need to do is win the players on the other side, and at the end of the day, they can't play. And that is what is happening. But some of us are not going to sit down for this to happen, because we'll keep on fighting. We'll keep on telling who matters, who is supposed to have an idea as to what is happening. You see, sometimes these civil society groups, I don't know what they do, because things of this nature comes out, they will sit down quietly for the politicians to be talking, blah, 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 and then they will just wait for one major political party to come out with a particular stand, and based on that stand, they will now come out and say, we are condemning this. Meanwhile, the main issue at hand, they will not condemn it. But like Doc said, I think the Catholic Bishops Conference have come out to condemn it, and I think that is in the right direction. And at the end of the day, we, the minority parties, are also going to talk about it and educate Ghanaians that, look, there are differences between various political parties. People who believe in peace and people who believe in, vigilantism. What we call a tutuasem. People who don't believe that this is how we need to rule. We have to use law to rule the state. Instead of using law, they are now using different tactics. Because at the end of the day, all that they have at the back of their minds is that in 2020, whether rain or shine, we have to win. And it is the Ghanaian voter who is going to decide. And he knowing very well that he has lost hope, touch with the root or the grassroots, this is the tactics he will start. And now going forward, people will say, hey, if that is what is going to happen in 2020, then I will be in my room. And then just a handful will go and vote. But it is not going to happen. I assure Ghanaians that we are going to make sure their lives are secured. At the end of the day, we are going to write to international bodies and let them know that yes, what is happening in Ghana, we are not happy. Sometimes when you write an article or when you write an issue and you publish it, somebody will come and say you are denting the image of Ghana. But training militia group in Castle, and you are telling us that you are not aware, is not denting the image of Ghana. What are they trying to tell us? Sometimes you ask yourself, do they think they are the only people who are smart? Because what is happening clearly shows that the NPP government thinks that they are the only smartest people in Ghana. See, we are in this country. There have been series of leaked tapes. Any leaked tape that comes out, they term it as dotted. And so for me, where I'm sitting, I have said, and I'm going to say it over and over, anytime there's a tape out there and they said it's a leaked tape, I term it as dotted. Because from infancy, every tape that comes is dotted. And so how come another one comes in and then all of a sudden that becomes another issue? Now this comes and they are saying, oh, it's because of this. So are we not going to enjoy what we voted for? Are we not going to be happy for what we voted for? Must we always be subjected to NDC tape, NPP militia training? And at the end of the day, you wake up in the morning, all you hear. I don't remember getting up one morning and say, oh, there's this manner at this particular junction, so people should just go in for it. After all, you voted for us, and so we are bringing. We've not been hearing that. All we hear, NDC, NPP, NDC, NPP. So for me, it is about time Ghanaians realize that, look, we've had enough of NPP and NDC. We are telling Ghanaians that we are peaceful and that, like they are saying, we don't have vigilante groups. And so when they vote us into power, we make sure they are safe. We make sure their life will not be at risk. We are not going to bring people who only go for 3 weeks training at Akosombo or Suchare and then come and tell us that we've been able to go and read map, how to read map. And then at the end of the day, you don't even know the criteria that they select people in the national security.
You said there is a government of MPP. By MPP for the MP.
You can imagine. So I'm not surprised if their whole ambassador will come out and say that I look at the MPP people first.
Yes.
And so you see, this even show clearly that they don't think about Ghanaians. And so everything that they are planning is geared towards their victory in 2020. But to God be the glory. Their plans are now being discovered, and I pray that this particular so-called camp that they said it does not exist. One story they said it does not exist. Another story they said they've gone to close it down. So which one should we believe?
But how do you close down something that
does not exist?
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
You understand? How do you close down something that does not exist? And so sometimes you ask yourself, you see, that is why I'm saying that sometimes when you win a game or you win something based on lies, when you turn lies to be truth, like Doc said, it becomes a problem for you. Because every time you have to defend that particular lie to be truth. And in defending that, you end up doing things that you don't even know that this is what I'm doing. Because you are making sure that those lies, you are trying to turn it to truth. Yeah. And you end up probably even killing. Yeah. Because if you don't kill that particular person or that particular thing, the truth will still come out. Yeah. And because it's a lie, you go down to make sure that you kill that thing. Okay. And so, Ghanaians, let us open our eyes. Sometimes we say, shine your eyes. Yeah. If we don't shine our eyes, NPP will continue taking us for granted. And they will be taking us for granted come 2020. Just as they've been doing, and they are doing. Yeah. Look at our dollar now. Now, last week, just these small rains, did you see gutters in Accra? Yeah. And not even Accra alone. Everywhere. Now, you travel to various villages, and the road has turned to manhole.
Yeah. The latest one is that a lot of the roads, if I during the release, it's easier for MPP, one village, one dam.
Can you imagine?
Dam can be small.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And you see, there's a lot that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot. But all that they are planning is how to win 2020. And so, in order for us to tell Ghanaians that, look, these dubious plans that they are trying to come out with, we put an end to it. The better.
Okay. Mr. Nto, thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Well, so before I come to Adip Sani, just a couple of messages from our WhatsApp number is 0233 995905 0233 995905, and this one is from Koblavio Pokwasi Bengazi. Says invisible forces are still occupying Old Osu Castle and training hard against election 2022 to overtake NDC. We are aware, so we are not going to disband our militia group, the Hawks, so that we NDC members can match MPP boot for boot. That's coming from Koblavio Pokwasi Bengazi, and a couple more messages coming in, and this one says, Comrade Senna, good morning to you and you and your eminent panel. I have been telling Ghanaians that they have not yet seen the true side of this president. We should thank God Nana Addo is very old before becoming president of this country. We could have smelled pepper more than what we have seen. God will continue to protect this beautiful country of ours. From Hamza in Nima. Rose in Takwa says, good morning, sirs. I thank God for your lives. May God strengthen all of you. I am waiting for the day when we all will go on demonstration over the country asking Anado to step down if he won't resign by himself. I'm Emmanuel Chukao I'm Emmanuel Chukao. Good morning to you all for your enviable effort. Every pain gives a lesson, and every lesson changes a person. The MPP government think they can use lip service to govern Ghanaians. The NDC believe in the practical aspect of governance, and 2020 will teach them a lesson of change. That is the prudent GM. Hi, Senna. This one from AKB in London says, I can't listen to Akufo-Addo, for he makes me sick to the stomach. A true hypocrite he is. Chief Vigilante Akufo-Addo, CEO of Vigilante Groups. NDC should start doing house-to-house campaign and listening to voters and groups to structure their policy. NDC are too quiet. And this one from Martin Luther King Jr. Says, one of the great tragedies, okay, actually the person quotes Martin Luther King Jr. is quite long. Well, let's move on. Asanko in Santa Maria says, responsible and serious-minded people should be very cautious. If they want to engage the MPP in any dialogue, otherwise, they may end up fetching water into a basket. Because MPP members are not sincere, had never been sincere, and will never be sincere. And this one, Tanko from Kasua Franco says, hi, Radio, well, thank you for helping Motherland Ghana. Keep on telling the truth. God bless you. Good morning, Senator. I'm Ebenezer from Kwabenya Welder Junction. So what wrong have we done to deserve this disgrace and embarrassment from a clueless and super incompetent President Nado? Turning the castle a training ground for his militias? Okay, he should continue with it, but the good people of Ghana will pass their judgment 2020. Thank God Azure has exposed his evil deed. If he said the group are malicious, why not? They are trained at any other place but the castle. Hypocrisy at the highest level. Fire burn anyone who wants to burn Ghana. Haja Ruki in New York says, Senna, this government is sick and needs serious treatment. If this had happened in the US, it will be a ground for impeachment. Let's continue to call on the resignations of this government, for he is only in government for war. God help Ghana. This one says, please, Alhaji Fuseni, we don't have to only make public talk about this deadly situation. Since when has Akufo-Addo listened to anybody's advice? He is destined to destroy the nation, having come all this far as president. Let's save our nation by fighting him for it and not by talks. And this one says, my name is John. I think NDC should stop the noise making on their credentials as peace-loving party. It carries no merit for the future. They left us open to all this for any mad leader to exploit. If NDC had decoupled the police and the Attorney General from incumbent control, could we have this? This is the time to apologize to Ghanaians about your own selfishness in the past. Look, if we do not repair our criminal code, another mad leader like Trump will one day emerge, use the present constitution to kill us all. What Nana is doing now is only a teaser. None of us, including NDC MPP or Nana himself, is safe, but he's not even aware. Chris from Rachaliboshi says, Senna, God prevented David from building his temple because there was so much blood on his hands. Today, President Nana Addo is leading an agenda to build a national cathedral, but here he is presiding over militia groups at the presidency. Kofi Kumsum might be a major prophet. Kojo Oppong is clearly operating from another planet. He is perplexed and hopeless. May God protect us from his hypocritical and lazy government. They must chase the dollar, not Chairman Ofosu Ampofo. Ebenezer from Kwabenya Welder Junction says, anyway, Sana, let's commend Comrade Kwesi Pratt for dealing with Sefa Khan yesterday on his show. I believe by the end of 2020, every paid journalist will be seen by all Ghanaians. Fire burn all paid journalists who do not tell the truth. This one, he says his name is Ways, and he says, if Nana, the president, is looking for power sharing come 2021 by training these hoodlums, he should forget it, because we are ready for them as Ghanaians. Nobody has two lives. This one says, but are we surprised about the Akufo-Addo's behavior? we do know some of their guys are on their pay list who do not do any work for the state. Even I work with one in my office where I work. You can, Emmanuel Chuka from Chado says, if President Akufo-Addo can use our taxpayers' money to train this vigilante group against Ghanaians, then it is rather a nightmare to be president. This one says, we have recruitment agencies in the country, and those who patronize their services are not in a uniform attire. Shame on them. We do not have stones in our heads. Thank you. Good morning. Let's stop this excuse for this current president. What do you mean by he is not to be blamed? But rather we should blame his appointees. Who chose them out of the many available qualified people? Other than the NDC, President Mahama was to be blamed for everything. Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and the entire MPP are simply incapable. Please add your names and where you are sending the text messages from. This one says, Senator, good morning. NDC should never trust Nanado. The man is not trustworthy. He will end up killing everybody if we don't sit up. We, the NDC, have to put our house in order. Prepare to flush the militants out of the country. Yusuf from Koforidua, thank you. And this one says, the NDC should better now that Nanado will never organize any free and fair elections because he knows he will lose hands down. So the call upon the NDC to dialogue to disband party vigilantes is not of good faith. Asanko in Santa Maria says the work done by the Short Commission will not be of any significance if the culprits are not recommended for prosecution and appropriate punishment meted out to them. Well, and also says that Ghanaians should petition EU, UK, USA, and ICC before it is too late. Habib in Sawam says, Senator, good morning to you and your panelists. Akufo-Addo has turned Ghana into a jungle where illiterate like Double can be national security operative at our VVIP lounge at KIA. Today, the clergy, civil society, Christian council are silent. But when it turns boom, there we shall see. There we shall see. May Allah forbid. The last one says from Prosper Fumaka inside Volta region, Nakachi to be precise, says, good morning, Senna. President Akufo-Addo shows his incompetence in managing this country. You can be training party militias at your office and be calling for disbandment of party militias. I'm quite disappointed about the Commission of Inquiry. When Double appeared before the commission, they did not ask him the kind of work he does before joining national security and the time he joined national security, but they asked the two NDC members who appeared before them. My question is, what certificates are they using to employ these people into the national security? Because some of them cannot speak English, and so that's coming from him. Let me just read this. It's quite lengthy from Kojuchu Mboafo says, Senna, can we kindly dispense with this notion that the president is unaware of what is going on? Nothing of this nature can go on without his knowledge. When he said he was unaware of the thievery of Boache Jako, did he not sack the guy? These are the hallmarks of nascent fascism. The president of this country is a violent fascist whose only aim is to entrench his political tradition in power forever and make credible opposition redundant. This spate of virulent violence in its incubation is only a brick in his wall of evil. Recall all the things he has done since he won: removing the EC chair and replacing her with a stooge of his choice, flooding the court with his choice of party political judges to do his bidding, infusing the security services with hoodlums and tax, most of whom are personally known to him. What he isn't, however, is a good student of history. He can never usurp the will of the Ghanaian people. The vote of Ghanaians will be counted in 2020, and he will be held accountable for his tenure. And God help him, because the day of accountability is nigh. Adib.
Well, Senator, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm highly honored to be on the same panel with Dr. Justice Moses. I listened to you on my way. Yes, I think I agree with you with many of the assertions you made. And Mr. Nto, thank you very much. And Honorable Alhaji is someone I call an uncle. He might not know me, but when I begin to narrate my Israeli background, I'm sure he would go like, what?
In fact, you are there already.
But it's good to be here. I think 2 days ago, I was speaking with a Nigerian friend based in Ghana, and he told me categorically that it's no accident that over 2 million of them live in the country, and that Ghana is peaceful, is prosperous, we've come a long way, and so on and so forth. And it's a fact. Right from the days of the independence struggle in 1945, when various African leaders in the diaspora met in Manchester, they spoke about the need for them to have as many African countries going independent as possible, and that there was the need for integration as a means to ensure prosperity for Africa. Indeed, right after Ghana gained independence in 1957, we had the Prime Minister then, Nkrumah, organizing the first meeting of leaders of independent African states in 1958. Since then, we've come a long way. Ghana is one of the very few countries that hasn't undergone a civil war in Africa. Our democracy is very solid since its inception. Since the inception of the Fourth Republic in 1994, we have been an example to so many other countries, not just within the sub-region, but on the whole continent as well. We always compete with Botswana, which is the most democratic, which is the most peaceful on the African continent. However, with the way things are going, I think we unfortunately are throwing all these gains to the dogs. And I'm pretty sure that our forefathers would lie in their graves and shake their heads in disappointment. I'm saying so because when you even take a closer look at the police records from 2015, 2016, especially to 2017, you would realize that crime is rather been on the ascendancy. The police records clearly show about 30% increase in serious crimes, especially in cosmopolitan areas like Accra. And that is very worrying, considering the fact that one of the first appointments of the president when he first came to power is the National Security Minister, Honorable Kandapa. And in line with the Security and Intelligence Agencies Act 526, in the past we had the various security agencies working like independent, autonomous bodies. The national security would gather their intelligence, keep it to themselves, like their pensions pay slip. Then BNI, police intelligence, military intelligence. But with the creation of the ministry, it synergizes their operations. So to speak, they are able to share intelligence amongst themselves, and they are able to work as more like a single unit and even collaborate with their international partners. Unfortunately, we still have issues of crime increasing by the day. What it means is we are not getting something right, and the height of incompetence is doing the wrong thing over and over again, hoping that it will be right. But before I come to the substance of the issue, let me, just for educational purposes, you see, the national security apparatus has different structures depending on the kind of work to be executed. So we have the planning, the direction, needs and requirements stage, and that is all captured in Lewenthal's stages or cycle of intelligence 2006. So after the planning, direction, needs, requirement stage, we come down to the collection of intelligence. Then after the intelligence is collected, we have the processing and exploitation of intelligence. Then it comes down to analysis, then later to dissemination. And in some cases, after the intelligence is disseminated to the various agencies who are supposed to work with that information, there's a feedback mechanism. So what it means is anyone can be a national security agent depending on the training, depending on the operational need, etc. And I'll give you an example. For instance, you need to gather information about the activities of garden ex-sellers at Kantamanto Market. Do you think me being in a suit walking to Kantamanto Market would be able to gather that information? Obviously, there are some market women, they look at you before they even tell you the prices of the words. Okay, so what it means is you would have to get someone who fits that profile to collect that intelligence from the Kantamanto Market. You understand? So it can even be an illiterate, depending on the operational need. And we have various structures, like I said. We have some who are specialized in IT, some are specialized in intelligence gathering, in distribution. We have the core administrative staff of the national security apparatus. Then we have those who are assigned to special operations, and usually the elite. And that is where the problem comes in. Double doesn't fit that profile. you understand? And the problem is, when I was coming, like I indicated, I was listening to Dr. Justice. The issue is, I received a call not very long ago from an individual, a highly placed individual in government, who said, Adib, I have a problem. I said, what is the problem? I've been tasked to go around the whole country and speak with the vigilante guys and find out what the hell their problem is. I told him, you know what the problem is, so why are you asking me? These are the boys who gave you security. They organized rallies for you. You promised them milk and honey, bridges where there are no rivers. So you know what the problem is. I have personally been around the country. I've spoken with these guys, and interestingly, Baba Alas, and I'm sure Honorable would know him, the leader of the Kandahar boys, is my mate back at Tamale Senior High School. And I spoke with him. He told me what the real issues are. So in an attempt by the government to silence these guys so they don't continue disgracing them, they decide not to put them under NAPCO or some other places, but our security agencies. That is the problem. When you subject the recruitment processes into your security agencies to protocol lists on party membership, because in some cases you would have people going there to show their party cards before they are given attention, then that is very serious. And it is much more distressing, taking into consideration the fact that there's been a consistent pattern, especially between the main political parties in Ghana. When another party comes to power, they go like, but you guys, where are your certificates? Where from you? I mean, did you get in there based on merit? No. Go home. And when they go home, remember, they are going home with state secrets. With lots of state secrets. And now we are dealing with the war on terrorism that has assumed global dimensions, with attacks in Mali, Ivory Coast, Burkina, etc. That means we are not immune either. So if you have these guys who are former agents in the streets, out of frustration, out of bitterness, can easily divulge state information or state secrets to our adversaries. And that is very worrying. And because of politics, it has skewed our attention. Sometimes when I make certain pronouncements, for example, I think that was
let me see. Let me show you what I wrote. Okay, on social media, I think one of the radio stations carried a story on my interview I granted to them. I said the MPP militia at Osu Castle is insulting to the Ayawaso West Wagon Commission of Inquiry. And I indicated clearly also that on my status, Sani Adib Jetke, if you want to know, you can just have a look at that. Can we have a discourse devoid of politics? Wrong is wrong. And trust me, I received quite a number of calls last night. At the point I had to switch off my phone. What are you talking about? Some of you so-called security analysts, that we don't understand you. Once it is against them or it doesn't go in their favor, they see everything wrong with it. Because Honorable Desmond Nto has indicated, sometimes politicians, when things don't go their favor, they tend to, rabble rouse and say all sorts of things. Because I know full well, Manasseh, this is not his first investigation. He's done like 100 times more investigations under the NDC than even the MPP. But people found nothing wrong with it until it was against them. So you have people like one Razak Opoku, who says he is an MPP activist or communicator, issuing a statement to the effect that, I quote, "the consistent and systematic attempts by some paid journalists to run down our government and tarnish the image of Ghana, of the president, Akufo-Addo, will amount to nothing. These paid journalists started to tag our government with corruption, but it backfired," unquote. So now, today he's paid. Interesting. And that is very worrying. That is very worrying. And especially with regard to the issue of vigilantism, pushing these guys into the various security agencies. But before I come to the issue, let me read to you something I learned in school. It is called, and I've also practiced it as a matter of fact, it is called the conflict early warning mechanism. The field of conflict early warning seeks to forecast the outbreak of armed conflicts, or at minimum to detect the early escalation of violence with the objective of preventing the outbreak or the further escalation of violence in order to save lives. So this has been developed, this has been worked on by many intergovernmental and non-governmental civil society organizations, including the AU, the ECOWAS, Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center, West Africa Network for Peace, etc. It seeks to give you some indicators. We are seeing some things go wrong in the country, and it has the potential of escalating, resulting in armed conflict. And I'll give you some examples. Prior to the 2007 Kenyan elections, we had the AU producing a report of that nature and submitting it to the government in 2006 and telling them categorically that, look, your election is next year. But the way we see things, especially with the activities of vigilante groups like the Mungiki, like the Sambuat Land Defense Force, by the Luo movements, etc., it is highly likely your election would result in violence. They threw it to the bin, and we all saw what happened in 2007. It was so serious that then former President George Bush had to dispatch his Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, to Nairobi. When she arrived there, she gave her all too famous "it will not be business as usual" speech. Then former President Kufuor was the AU chair. He called on Kofi Annan of blessed memory and asked him to go mediate between the Orange Democratic Movement and the People's National Union. By then, hundreds, if not thousands, were already killed, and the country was thrown into chaos. We all also know the effects of vigilante groups, vigilante activities in the Ivorian crisis. With the France 24 describing the young patriots led by one Charles Blegude, also known as the Street General. And they said Charles Blegude asked his followers to organize themselves into committees to track UN soldiers, but in reality, he was targeting opponents of Gbagbo, the young people of the neighborhood, that is Yopogon. supervised by the young patriots, have taken him at his words. Ever since, Yopougon has been taken over by youth at roadblocks, taking the law into their own hands. Those are the effects of vigilantism, not only even in Ivory Coast, in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, and we seem to be going the same trajectory. We should learn better. We should learn better. We are going the same trajectory. Sometimes when we speak, people feel we are rabble-rousing, we are being alarmists, but we know the facts. We know how Boko Haram started in 2002. It wasn't an armed movement. It was more like a vigilante group against Western education, because Mohammed Yusuf thought Western education produced the corrupt politicians, etc. But it reached a crescendo in 2009. When he was killed, and he was his deputy Abubakar Shekau and his third deputy Abu Musab al-Banawi took over, and we know the havoc they are wreaking in not just Nigeria but in Chad, Niger, and even in Cameroon, because they didn't give credence, and we are going the same trajectory. So it is very worrying. So when I hear the president say, oh, we have to meet and talk about what? Drink tea? No, I mean, let's be serious for once in the country. This has happened before. Prior to the 2016 election, we had the police in collaboration with civil society organizations meeting with various top-ranking representatives of the political parties. And they appended their signature to a document reaffirming their commitment to disbanding these groups within their fold. The next minute, you have the same politicians outdooring, inaugurating these groups all across the country. And we even have Honorable Kennedy Japan saying just recently on one of the radio stations that we are not going to disband them. So who are you deceiving?
Yeah.
Who are you deceiving? There's no commitment. Let's face it. They can meet a million times for all they care. There is no commitment. So until the various political actors show the right level of commitment into dealing with the spate of vigilantism, we would have this issue coming up over and over again. So in my honest opinion, I think the president would have to be much more assertive in handling the issue, rather than limiting it all to meetings which produces nothing. You know, come to think of it, Senator, we don't need a constitutional amendment or new laws to handle this. I mean, do we need a new law to say it is criminal for some hoodlums to hijack a court and release their comrades? We don't need a new law to address it. Do we need a new law to address the situation where a group of young men besieged the Tema site of the toll booth, took the workers hostage, took over the facility, and the police took the money? And the police spokeswoman on that day, I personally listened to her. She said because of the politically dicey nature of the issue, the police was handicapped. This is broad daylight unbridled criminality, broad daylight robbery. Let's put politics aside. Most of these things they do is just criminal in nature, you know. So why do we need new laws to address it? So what is happening is quite disturbing, and I think we all have a role to play in dealing a big blow to it once and for all. So generally, Senator, just yesterday I was trying to convince my wife to vote during the next election. She said no, there's no way she's going to vote. I said no, you have to vote, you have to exercise your franchise. She said no, we've been disappointed. See what is happening in the country. And she even cited an example. Just recently, during the State of the Nation address, I was on, I think, Ghana television with the Deputy Minister of Communication, and I was there also with Honorable Atu Folson, and the Deputy Minister said, oh, he feels safer in Ghana than even in the UK, even in London. And I said, Honorable, if I were you, I would say same, because I have 24-hour police protection. How about the other Ghanaians? How about the other 30 million Ghanaians? Do we have do they have police protection like you do? So you see, there's some level of political complicity in what is going on. When the young men claiming to be members of the national security, but I'll describe them as a ragtag militia going to La Baoleishi, they were very disorganized. I mean, the way they were even acting, there was no sense of professionalism. You could tell, I mean, without even subjecting them to any serious, what do we call it, analysis, knew that they were very disorganized. They didn't know what they were doing. I personally went there after it all happened. I went to do my own fact-finding. I went to the polling station there. I even went all the way to the parliamentary candidate's house. I saw all that happened that day, and all of a sudden you have the police making it look like those guys were aliens from another planet. Nobody knows them. Even the vehicle with police inscription all over it, like people were wondering whether it was coming from Jupiter or Mars, because nobody knew where they were coming from all of a sudden. Then the next minute, you have the interior minister coming to say, oh, I didn't know about the operation. Then the IGP himself. Yes. Then we have the unit commanders, yes, and even the East Legon, yes, commander saying, and you know what the problem is? Because we have over politicized the security agencies. Yeah. And you know, we have operational chain of command and protocols to follow anytime they are going on such an operation. But because of the politics, you shroud it all in people undermining, junior officers undermining senior officers, and people beginning to act like a state within a state, like an autonomous unit of some sort. And that is what is causing this. So until we are able to make a conscious attempt to detach politics from the operations of the various security agencies, we would have this issue coming up over and over again. And I'm particularly very disappointed that when some of these issues come up, you have some politicians trying to rationalize and justify. And you know, they think you're stupid, but they rather look stupid. Yeah. That is the problem. I mean, how on earth can you say the castle is not a security? It's unbelievable. When you have about 4 ministries operating from there, we have other government extensions agencies there, and you claim you think I can just wake up security? I mean, the police. Yes. So what are you? It was it was just unbelievable. I mean, sometimes it's better we just shut up rather than trying to justify some of these issues, because it rather makes us stupid. So, Sana, I think we all have a role to play. I'm a security person. I run an NGO, the Jetike Center for Human Security and Peace Building. We are working on a number of proposals that will be aimed at educating the Ghanaian public, you know, about the dangers of these vigilante groups and how it can undermine our democracy and affect the ordinary people even living in the hinterlands. And so for the need for them to take it into consideration when they are going to cast their ballot. Recently, we conducted a full survey. We asked a number of Ghanaians what they take into consideration when they are voting. Interestingly, we indicated tribe and all that. And a lot of people take to tribe and things that didn't really matter. But I think we are making a conscious attempt to educate them on the need for them to take into consideration the most important factors, you know, that would affect their lives, and that would include security, and that would also include the commitment on the part of the various political actors into dealing with these vigilante groups. Because if care is not taken, and the unfortunate thing is there's a massive proliferation of small arms and light weapons into the country because of, well, illegal weapons don't usually go through the approved border crossings. They go through the unapproved, and we have a lot of them across the corners of the country, and they are able to bring these weapons in. Sometimes Ghana being a transit, at times they are here to stay. And these guys are falling into the hands of these guys. And if care is not taken, tomorrow we shall be dealing with rather a rebellion, not a vigilante or a militia. Then we'll bite our fingers and ask ourselves where we went wrong. And this is where we are going wrong.
Thank you very much, Adib Sani. And that almost wraps it up on the first topic. But you're allowed to come back, maybe, on the second topic if you still have some residual issues you want to deal with. But don't forget that the show, Alhaji And Alhaji, is sponsored by Franco Trading. And they are asking, first of all, they're telling you that if you want an Alcatel phone, they have reduced the prices in their shops. So walk into any of their shops and check out their Alcatel 1, Alcatel U3, and Alcatel tablets, and you'll get them at very reduced prices. Secondly, they're saying that use their online platform whenever you are making a purchase. Don't forget, they are not only selling phones and accessories, they are selling tablets, they are selling flat screen TVs, and also laptops, among others. If you want to buy any of those, just use any of their online platforms. You can use their app. Go to Google Play Store, download the Franco Trading app, or you can use www.francotrading.com or www.francophones.com. If you use any of those platforms to buy online, if you live within Accra, they will deliver it for free, and then they'll give you a 30% discount on the item you have purchased. So take advantage of that. Franco Trading Enterprises offering you that. And if you have issues with prostate, big issue, prostate, you have issues with urination, urinal disorders, get yourself a Hunchun capsules from Kulun Ghana Limited. Try them out. And also they also offer you Mr. Q for the general well-being of men, deals with lots of issues. SNY granules is for if you are having issues with fertility as a man, buy that. Araba Banzen is for women, and the Kin tablets is for high blood pressure or hypertension. You can call them on 0244 139 176, 0244 139 176, or 0204 139 176, or 0274 139 176. And Mobile Water is also saying that you should join their 20-liter bottle instant refill door-to-door delivery service, especially if you're a business and you need water. Take advantage of that. They will provide water at an affordable rate for you anytime you need it. You have easy access to is the 20-liter bottles instant refill door-to-door delivery service. So call them on 0244 650 939, 0244 650 939 for your instant supply. You can visit them at Tema Headlight Industrial Area behind McBaron Hotel at Flower Road. And of course, you can refresh yourself with any of those drinks from TT Brothers. Anchor Tea Malt is one of them. And if you want an energy drink, just buy the Anchor Tea Energy drink. They are the sponsors of the show today and for a while now. A big thank you to them. I'm trying to get some of the messages you have been sharing with us, especially on PubMC GH. There are a lot of them on that platform, so let me just share some of them with you. Unfortunately, I'm having some difficulties with so this one from Komra Genya says, Sana, for me, there's no need to dialogue with any political group about this vigilantism. All what is needed is for the elders in the country who are referred to as statesmen to impress on Akufo-Addo, Commander-in-Chief of the militants, to mandate the military to disband all militant groups. He's listening from Abuja. King Farouk says, and I was shocked when watching the video. I heard the commander of the militia training at the castle being congratulated by their commander that in a week none of them have been arrested by the police for any criminal activity.
It was an outstanding week.
This are the hoodlums government is trying hard to convince us are unemployed, you've been trained for jobs. Why were they also providing security at the state function? Time will tell. He sent that from Kaswa. King Farouk. Chris Kwao says, good morning, Senna. I am listening to you at Abidjan. Where is the clergy? Duncan Williams and Mensa Otado. The rest, where are they? Is Rawlings in the country? Also, those are the ones. And Some more from PAB MCGH. Henry Marsh says, I support the minority call for the resignation of the president, Akufo-Addo, because I don't feel safe as a Ghanaian. Nelson Tete says, NDC must strongly ask the involvement of all Ghanaian, the UN, all other country ambassadors, among others, for this discussion. Nelson Tete says, we expect that John Mahama will again expose Nana Addo and the MPP government to diplomats in the world. And also Awume Koblavi says, we are aware that President Nana Akufo-Addo is manipulating the judiciary to rope some opposition members to be jailed, but they shouldn't forget that God is watching them, and also one day they will face judgment. And he also says, well, I read that one on WhatsApp, but do keep your messages coming in. Asilitetifio Benjamin says, Senator, good morning, and your panel. Our President Nana Akufo-Addo and his government are most pathological liars, especially his Minister of Information, Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah. He is a disgrace to him. He is the most disgraceful information minister Ghana has ever had. And this Oppong-Nkrumah and current president are turning Ghana into a doomed state. And Mr. President, I don't believe in every speech he makes because I don't see any proper message in it, but rather false information and protecting his party members and not Ghanaians. And he says he's painting Mother Ghana black to the rest of the world and preaching that he's a peacemaker. And shame on my president that he is a big... it's quite difficult to read your message. It's unclear. Agahua Julius Tahiro says that from... It says that sends one from Asawase says, Senator, what is happening in this country now is scary and very bad. Looking at how Boko Haram came into being, if our true security personnel sit down concerned, trust me, we'll be heading towards Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Uganda, Afghanistan, among others. The most painful aspect of it all is the so-called Peace Council of State, Peace Council, CSOs, and the rest. Where are they? Are they now blind, deaf, and dumb? Those who voted for this wicked president, are you happy now? Hypocrisy, the disease, ampa. 2020, change the bad change. Daystar Hinijan says, if General Akufo wasn't saved by the military, then Akufo-Addo is. Danny Daniel says, I'm not really surprised with the submission of Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah at all. It was expected. However, it's up to the NDC to work vehemently to regain power and save Mother Ghana. My regards to Dr. Moses Justice Aheto. And Anatete says, I still can't understand why some people are defending this barbaric act of this God-forsaken government. Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, every liar is a thief. Take note of that. William Amenyu says, Sena, kudos to Manasseh and Anas for their bravery. But it's my considered advice to these two to start watching their back. Guys in MPP can't be trusted. They sent that from the USA. Catherine Fiano says, oh, well, okay, I've read that. Legend boy Aminu Gaucho says, Sana, I'm totally disappointed in this short commission. 2 guys assaulted Sam, but they brought only one person. Posterity will judge all of us. Greetings to my friends in Kumasi for his listening from Ivory Coast. Matthew Tabliba says, Mr. Producer, if the castle is no longer a security zone, why do they maintain... okay, I think I've read that one too. Ababi Williams says, Senator, please tell Honorable ABF Husseini to provide us with more proverbs because I'm really enjoying them. He says that from Tema. And Johnny Kwaji says that I pity Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah. What a terrible way to defend the indefensible. Lies, lies, lies all the way. My young son was quick to say the minister was lying. Eric Ofinti says, law of karma has caught up with this government. They pretend to be angels, but inwardly, they are wolves seeking to destroy the good people of Ghana. Aji Swap says, Senna, we from Winneba is okay. We said they are no longer getting radio Ghanaian people. Alhaji, I don't know if you have a multi-TV decoder, just look for channel 13. I'm sure you can get to listen to us. Washington Darling says, good morning, Senna, and your panel. members for the wonderful work you are doing for Mother Ghana. The NDC must not take things lightly with the MPP government and especially Nana Addo. The MPP and Nana Addo are not ready to disband their militia. And okay. Well, so those are just some of the messages we are getting on Facebook. Justice Alfred Dodo says, as we speak now, 200 people from the I Group are being trained at Kwetwe Customs Training School in the Volta region as recruits of the Customs Service Division of Ghana. They were transported to the training school in buses straight from the seat of government. This is true and not a rumor. This was done to the displeasure of officers in charge for recruiting people to the service. Well, Simon Achufuga says, Nana solve, but to the people of Ghana, we can't trust the president. Filth has engulfed Ghana. Corruption is the order of the day. God save, please save us from this nation wrecker. So those are the messages coming in from Facebook. And let me just read one more from WhatsApp, then move to the next topic. It says, Senna, kindly ask your security analyst to decouple the generalization of political parties. Responsibility to keep party political violence to minuscule minimum from state-sponsored terrorism. The state of this nation under the current government is a state of siege. This country is under siege from modern militant state-sponsored terrorism, whose grandpapa is the president. And that, my friends, is the state of play ever. And he continues and says, and please, whilst we are at it, where is our founder in all this? No pity statements, no chit-chats, no tittle-tattle. If I live long enough, I will see the car smelling meat and dog will be ringing a bell to attract buyers. Clap, clap. Ahura. That's from Kojo Chumbuafo. And let's move to the next topic. That has to do with the demonstration that happened over the week over the luxury vehicle tax. It's become one of the topics that a lot of people are complaining about, but the government is standing its ground on this matter. Doc, let me start with you again.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Senna. Truly, it be one of the critical things for many of us. But just permit me before I go. One of my uncle, Albert Aheto, he's one of the strongest listeners of Radio Gold, and he would like me to say a hi to one of his colleagues, Israel Nonyibe of Domiko Benya constituency.
Okay.
So permit me to just do that one. Yeah. So now coming back to the critical issue, you know, as far as I can remember, Nana Addo has been campaigning to become a president since around 1996, and then he contested against the then John Ajekun Kufuor on several occasions and lost to him. And after John served his 8-year term, he again continued to fight other candidates to become the president of the nation. So to some of us, our understanding was that this is somebody who is very well prepared to take up the mantle, because fighting for that position since 1996, what it means is that you are adequately prepared to take over from whoever you're going to take over. But to most of our surprises, it seems to be a different story. Now, first of all, if you see the approach that was adopted to initiate that tax, you realize that there's something wrong. Why am I saying this? I think they even find it so difficult to identify a name for the tax that they want to do. And I'm not sure their actual intention was to name it luxury, tax on luxury cars. Why am I saying this? If you talk about luxury cars, it's not the engine, it's not the capacity. Even my child at home under 5 years will tell luxury is not about the capacity of the engine of the car. But the whole of this argument from the MPP led by Nana Addo and his finance minister were all around about what? The capacity of your engine. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? What kind of nonsense is that? So if I have, let's say, a tipper truck that I'm supposed to use to go and convey sand from the pit, because the capacity is maybe over 3 point something, it will be 10 as a luxury car. Is that a meaning? Can a tipper car be a luxury car? I mean, why are you making ourselves? Putting ourselves before this like we are just a nation that don't have intellectuals. At least if some consultation was done, trust me, somebody can at least point out that the name you are giving does not suit what you want us to do. Let's find something else. Because let me tell you, I can get some definition for luxury cars. For instance, I'm taking this from the Wikipedia. It's a luxury vehicle is intended to provide passengers and often the driver with increased comfort, a higher level of equipment, and increased perception of quality than regular cars. This is different from Wikipedia. But in Ghana, our understanding of luxury car is how much capacity your engine is having. I mean, they shouldn't make us think that we are blockheaded in this nation. We have people in this nation who are very critical about things and are being used internationally to promote development. But look at how our leaders are taking us. So, in fact, from day one, I made it clear to all my colleagues that, look, I don't think this is a name they want to give to this tax. If you like, go to the official books, this is what they have, luxury cars, and they put a capacity on it. Now, if I live in a community where the road is too bad, that using an ordinary car, I have to be changing my part every 1 week or 2 weeks. I have to be going for servicing every 2 or 3 weeks. I say, okay, let me rather save my money that I'll be using to change this part. Let me rather save it after some time. When it accumulates, I can buy a car that can absorb the pressure on the road. If you go to my place right now, we don't normally call it a pothole anymore. It's now a manhole. Some of them will soon turn into the mini dams they want to build for one dam, one consider that kind of stuff. One village, one dam. So when I struggle to save a little money to get something that can be robust to the road I'm using, then someone will come and say because of that the cost of your engine, you have to pay additional 2,000 or 1,000 anytime I'm going to renew the roadworthy of my vehicle. And where are we going as a nation? Meanwhile, the same people, when they were in government, when they were in opposition, Bawumia made it clear who is currently the leader of the economic team. He made it clear to us that taxing people to develop your nation is a lazy man's option. It's a lazy man's option. But now, they can simply use the capacity of your engine to tax you on that. What kind of nonsense is this one? What kind of nonsense is this very one? And this guy is sitting peacefully in Ghana without any problem. And he's being paid heavily from our own limited money. Now, it's not surprising that all the loans they have taken, which is very unprecedented, they can't use them to develop anything. Because they haven't finished paying the 123 ministers they have over there at the castle. They haven't even finished paying some of the directors that they recruited illegally into the services. Some of them are just idle, but when the month end, they take even more than you take. Go and find out how much the chief executive officer of the Cocoa Board is taking right now. Taking even more, several times more than the president himself. The reason being that simply at the end of the day, there will be a back kick into their pocket and goes to the party. How can we drain our own nation like that? How can we drain our own nation like that? So if we have somebody who claims that taxation process is a lazy man's approach of supporting your own country, and who has now turned around to do otherwise, who is this person? Who is this person? Now let me tell you, when I was in the UK, there was a time I wanted to send some vehicle from UK to Ghana. I'm telling this on authoritative notes. And I make an inquiry from one of my friends, a sales officer, down at the Jubilee unit. Of the, at they have the Jubilee place called Jubilee, where some of the people work from, the Jubilee terminal. And he made it clear to me that when you are bringing down the car, there are certain taxes that they take that you have to be like. Apart from the duty too, there are other things that could even increase or decrease the cost of your vehicle that you want to send. And one of the critical things he talks about is that depending on the engine capacity of the car, your duty will be higher or lower. And he made it clear to me that when your capacity is very high, you pay more duty on that vehicle, and which is low, you pay less. So what this is telling you and I is that from day one, even this very vehicle we are in quotes, this vehicle in quotes, we are calling as a luxury vehicle, which is according to them 0.3 and above. Tax has already been incurred, even when paying your duty before you even clear it. I don't know if my argument is coming out. It means before you even clear the car, that big car from you are considered to be luxury from the port, you have already paid a tax on it through the duty. Now, you and I also know for sure that if you go to the pump right now, for sure, if your engine is high, you're supposed to consume high. Is that not it? I mean, if you're using a car and your engine capacity is very high, it means your consumption will be higher compared to, for instance, if I'm using 3.0 and somebody is using, let's say, 1.4, my consumption naturally is expected to be higher than somebody is using 1.4. Is that not it? Mm-hmm. Now, when you go to the pump, there's a direct tax at the pump level. So if every 1 liter that I buy, if the tax on it is 2 cedis, it means I need to buy more. So it means even at the pump, I'm paying for what? Tax already. And now government come to power and said we want money to do things. So what we'll do is that if you have 3.0 and above, you need to pay additional tax when you are going to register your car or maybe do your renewal. Please, where are you going? Where are you going? Sometimes I get scared about the approach of these people. I don't know if they have consultants who work with them or they just get up from their bed and come with anything at all. You remember about this VAT issue? They say they really wanted to increase VAT, to be frank with you. This government really wanted to increase VAT. If not for the careful and the activeness of the minority in parliament, then by now you and I will have been paying VAT over 20%. I'm telling you on a gospel fact. And the hula baloo, the pressure that came on board actually deterred the government from increasing VAT. But do you know what they did secretly and smart?
But they actually increased VAT.
No, I'm coming. No, I'm coming.
Because it was through the back door.
Yeah, I'm coming there.
Replacement.
Yes,
specific tax.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what they try to do is decompose the VAT element. Now they make this one fixed and this one variable. But when you put it all together at the end of the day, you are paying more now. But you are now on the street, you think that the VAT is the same. But it's never the same. They have increased VAT indirectly. You see, so when I heard that people are putting themselves together to go on the road, to drive home their worry about this lazy and this incompetent approach by the government to just take money from these individuals and to give back to their own PP members. This is what my worry is. This is where my worry actually is. If they were to be taking the taxes from us and use it for our own good, I'm happy. If they want to take 50% of my tax and that it will be used in the best way to develop my country, I am happy. In the UK, we have been doing it. If you like, those who have been to the UK before, who work there before, they will tell that the tax margin over there is too much here and there. But we enjoyed it because they will make sure that when your tax is taken, it is used to develop the very community you belong. And what it means is that you are benefiting back from your own tax and you are happy. But in our part of the world, especially in Ghana here, the government of Ananado will take our tax and share it among their cronies. Now, when they were in opposition, Nana Kumia was lambasting the NDC government that the size of their government is too large. When they were having just about 70 something, he says the size of their government was too much. But where we are now, where is Nana Kumia? His MP is in power now. Their leader is Nanado. They are having about 123 ministers. This is different from the Goro boys that they keep in their office there, they pay them. And most of these Goro boys are on our payrolls. I'm telling you on a gospel fact. Most of these, they are Goro boys who just sit in their office and watch. They say, go and bring me cow, go and bring me cattle, go and bring me dog, go and bring me that. They are also having their names on our payrolls. So my worry here is that I am happy as a citizen for my money to be taken in terms of tax, to be used for something that will benefit all Ghanaians. But I'm against an increase in taxes illegally and are being used to fund activities of the MPP. This is my worry.
Okay. Look.
Before that, let me wrap up. Okay, there's something critical about it. Yeah, very briefly. This is just to set a record straight that the leader of the militia group happened to be a bodyguard to our president, Nana Addo. Currently, they are telling us, it was when this happened before me, I got to know, not that I'm the one saying it. They are now telling us that he is now an ex-bodyguard to the president. If not because of this militia issue, we have no idea that this guy actually was an ex. To some of us, he's still a bodyguard to the president. But that could be their smart way of running away. But whatever they do, it is still illegal to operate at that level. And before I bring things down, Nana Addo have just been shifting the goalposts. Anytime he realizes that it is a trouble, do you know what he does? He says, "Oh, I'm handing over to Mr. A to handle." And whether it is done or not, he has done his job. What kind of president is this one? They say there's insecurity in your government, and for that matter, in your country. Deal with it. You say, "NDC, come and join me. Let's think about this." What kind of joke is that one? So you should wait till somebody else comes to join you before you solve the problem. And just to remind all of us that sometimes when our heroes are speaking, we should listen to them. I can remember very well that the ex-president John Ajikun Kufuor was signing a warning to the members of the NPP during one of their delegate period that if they want to vote for someone to lead them, they should make sure they vote for somebody who have no hot tension. And it looks like they didn't listen to the man. Now we are all struggling for it. Long live our country, Ghana, and long live all of us. Yes, I heard people saying that we can contribute in our own ways to solve the problem. It is only when the president is ready to listen. That is where something can be meaningful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Ento.
Yes, Sena, thank you very much, Sena. You see, with this issue of tax and vehicle levy that this current administration is talking about, for me, I think that the best thing for them to do is to cut down the size of their government. Look at the number of ministers we have in this country. We are learning democracy from the Western world. How many ministers do France have? How many ministers do America, UK? How many ministers do they have? Yet a country of a population of 30 million, we have 122, right? Because of the 23, because of the new region.
123, yeah.
Yeah. And each minister is having a Land Cruiser. Have you taxed that particular Land Cruiser? Exempted. Yeah. And then you are pushing it on the ordinary Ghanaian. So you see why I was telling you that these people that we voted them into power, they don't think about the ordinary Ghanaians. They only think about themselves and how to enrich themselves. Because if you are telling somebody who is driving this bone shaker, this bola car, this latrine car, to come and pay such an amount for a luxurious car, and at the end of the day, you driving that Land Cruiser, and you don't pay. You don't pay, you are being fuel free, and then you come and tell the ordinary Ghanaian to pay. You are putting more hardship on the people who stood in the sun. In fact, that is why I'm saying that now they don't have anything to stand on. Based on the lies that they told Ghanaians, it is now manifesting in what is happening. And so all they have to do is to be training people who would just try to come and intimidate Ghanaians. If they are able to cut down the size of their government, it is going to help. Because look, I just did some. If you have 122 ministers, and you are supposed to tax now this special levy, how much are they going to pay? Let's assume that you are paying 2,000, as the people are saying.
Yeah.
2,000 multiplied by 122.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then the presidency convoy has not even come in. The vice president has not, including the chief executives of the various institutions. They are all using Land Cruisers. And not only Land Cruiser are they using, they have their other cars. And if you add all these cars, you are totaling almost about 400 Land Cruisers at the presidency or the government. And yet, somebody who is just driving, what do you call it, tipper truck, just one tipper truck, how much does a person earn at the end of every 6 months? And you are telling this person to come and pay such an amount, and the person goes on demonstration, and then you come out and rubbish it. No. So you see, these things clearly shows that the government of the day is not helping Ghanaians. Look, see, this government, we Ghanaians were saying that the previous administration was not good enough. So come and see if you can help us. And what do we see? We are rather crying. We are rather crying. Because, see, if you go to my village, at first when I'm going to a Samangese, I'll just buy diesel, maybe 60, 70. Now, if I don't buy diesel 200, I cannot go. And so you ask yourself, why? Look at where the dollar is. Look at where the dollar is. And then you ask, so if you look at what is happening, it clearly shows that the government of the day does not think about Ghanaians. And we need to reject them 2020. It's a must. Because if we don't reject this government in 2020, then I don't know where we are heading towards. It's true. Because just ask yourself, when you are in opposition, you came out with all sort of words. We are sitting on money, yet we don't know where the money is. How we have arrested the dollar. Now you have arrested the dollar, you gave it to the IGP, but lo and behold, we don't even know who has stolen the keys from the IGP, and the dollar is now gone. So have we asked ourselves all these questions? For me, I think that going forward, Ghanaians, we should be asking ourselves these questions. We should be asking ourselves these questions. And when we ask ourselves these questions and realize that we've gotten the answer, when we go out there to vote, then we know who to vote for. Because we cannot be fooled again.
Okay.
We cannot be fooled again. Okay. So, for me, look at, they will come and tell us all inclusive. Like I started and I was telling you. They will say all inclusive. They will just pick one or two people from other political parties and say, we are giving you positions. Yet, nothing happens. And so when you are talking, they said, oh, we are all ruling the country with you. Meanwhile, it's a lie.
Yeah, you're trying to support for his clinic.
So the moment you go out there and you make a comment and you are trying to tell them that, look, this thing that is happening is not good. They said, but we are all ruling the country with you. So if it is bad, you are also part of it. Meanwhile, you are not giving the person the room to operate.
Okay.
You have given a whole vehicle that is meant for him to your militia group. You've given the office to your militia group. And then you come out and tell me that I am not performing.
Yeah.
Give me the tools for me to perform. If you don't give it to me, how would I come out and say I'm working?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nto. Adib.
Well, recently a friend of mine living in the UK, who is actually not a Ghanaian, called to confirm whether indeed we had 123 minutes. Because he saw it online and thought it's fake news. But I told him, no, it is genuine news. And he was amazed. And since then, we have been a subject of mockery. You know, in the international media, I've read a number of stories on CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, Reuters, etc., about the number of ministers in Ghana. Even the UK, which has a population of 65 million, so they complain about the 120 ministers they have. Ethiopia, which is even in Africa, they have 20 ministers. Switzerland, you can imagine how many? 10. You know, you can imagine. And a whole lot of other countries that are bigger, has bigger population than us. But, I mean, they have a sizable number of ministers who, when they work effectively and efficiently, are able to run the country. But, I mean, some of these things, which is quite understandable, you know, some suffered for the fact, of course, would have to be paid back. But the problem is the fact that of all these 123, don't forget that they have free fuel, free vehicles, houses,
free utilities. In fact, they don't pay utilities at all. You know, they have personal protection. Not only even the ministers, even aides.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? They have vehicles, they have housing. You know, the staffers, they have housing. Almost all of them. You know, so it puts so much pressure on the limited resources the country has. And we know these effects on the people. You and I know what is happening in Sudan, with protesters calling for Mohammed al-Bashir to resign because bread prices have increased and all that. When you compare it with our case, we have the dollar spiraling out of control. Yesterday I spoke with a lady friend of mine who said she checked the duty of her vehicle just some 2-3 months ago, and it was 13,000. But just yesterday, when she was at work, she asked the agent to check, and it was 23,000. And that she had a heartache. She left the office and went home because she couldn't just contain it, and that she's ready to let the vehicle go because there's no way she can pay that duty. And you know, Africa, we have in Africa, Ghana has one of the highest, you know, duty rates in on the continent. No wonder you see some people importing their vehicles through Togo and Nigeria and using those number plates in Ghana because they are not able to pay. So these are some of the legitimate issues we have to look at holistically, and I'm pretty sure that this can aid in, you know, improving the lives of the people when given credence, because we know full well the effects of bad governance. We know the effects it has on the people when the right policies are not put in place. Ghana produces cocoa. I think the second or third largest producer of cocoa in the world. But Belgium doesn't produce cocoa, yet they make well over $20 billion annually from just converting our cocoa into finished products. How much does Ghana make? I think somewhere around $2 billion annually. And that is very disturbing. So I think it's important that we put the right structures in place. Let us diversify, because African countries are integrated. Recently, I even wrote an exam on integration, ECOWAS level, AU level, etc. But one of the biggest issues we are facing on the continent is the fact that almost all countries produce the same thing, you know, timber, gold, and all that. So we are in competition with ourselves. So I think it's important rather we diversify. We are able to add value to the things we produce, because there are so many commodities we import that I find very sickening. I mean, when we can produce it, it's just by pushing the local industry, just a little push, and they will do wonderful things. Yet we still import lots of rice, lots of sugar, when we have all the opportunities in place to be able to do that. So what is happening? And all of this is having trickle-down effects on the ordinary Ghanaian. So I think going forward, governments would have to give a listening ear to the people. Sometimes when you are in power, you don't know what is happening down there. We sit in the trust. We sit in the taxes. We speak with the people. We know what their menacing challenges are. Those at the very top, they don't understand. They have advisors who give them wrong information because of obvious reasons. So I think it is high time they listen to us, because a lot of people seem to be complaining, and I don't think it's a good feeling.
Well, thank you very much. 2 quick messages before you come in. The first one from Komala Genya says, NDC may have their shortfalls, but they should never be compared in any way with the most wicked and evil party in Africa, MPP. Remember, they have been experts in throwing bombs even before the emergence of most terror groups in Africa. And this one is quite interesting. Says, Senna, good morning. I now understand why I have been looking for my plumber for weeks, only to see him later, and he says he now works at National Security. Alhaji.
I'm sure any accomplished one tapa can also get employment there. I'm not sure it's a difficult matter. My comrade just spoke about, he was lamenting about the government not interested in the welfare of the people. Now, I was surprised about it because, my brother, if somebody will invite you to his fufu meal, he would have first given you a piece of his roast yam. If he cannot give you a piece of his roasted yam, you are expected to go and eat fufu and drink soup. It won't happen. Sana, permit me to just make a little bit of this on the previous issue regarding the unawareness of this government. You know, the mantra in the MPP, this government, you know, anytime it happened and President Akufo was put on the carpet, the first answer you get is that the government is not aware. So on a number of issues across the country, scandals that had come, plethora of scandals, the president is unaware. Is unaware. To shield the president, the answer was always unaware until they graduated from being unaware under Yagu. And now when they graduated and got the unenviable doctorate distinction of being misled, then they went to the issue of being misled. And so I thought that long ago we have consigned this being unaware to one of being misled, and now we are going back to unaware again. So it tells you that frankly speaking, it's a very clueless government. It doesn't know. And I'm saying that on this particular matter, if they are saying the president is unaware, if it's even more serious, I think it's worse to be unaware than to even admit responsibility. Because if you are not aware, it means you are clueless on the job, you are sleeping on the job, you are incompetent in handling the job. So to a very large extent, I think that they are not doing those on that tangent. They are making the matters even worse for the president. They shouldn't even go there. And I see in this government, look, this is the government with the highest number of appointees in the security sector. To the point that today you have a security minister for national security, isn't it?
Yes.
You have a minister of state for national security,
yes,
in the office of the president.
You have the coordinator.
Okay. You have a coordinating director for national security. You have a deputy. You have a director, a chief director. Okay. You have a national security coordinator. Look, you can't even finish counting them. Some of the titles, when they even mention to their owners, they can't even remember.
You have the interior
security, leave the traditional ones, interior, defense, those ones, they are there. And this is the most bungling incompetence that we ever had. In spite of these huge numbers of appointees that you have for security alone. And look at the state of our security. All the statistics are up. Apart from the normal crimes, the homicides, the robberies, all those are there. Put all of them together. In addition to these vigilantes and militias, to the point that they are now bringing people who, when their names are written before them, they can't even recognize it. They are now people who are running our security. So no doubt, it's a. But you know, on this luxury vehicle, I've had the opportunity of speaking for the benefit of privilege. I cannot disclose the identity of a colleague of mine I've spoken on this thing. And he confessed to me that really they didn't know how to appropriately caption the tax. So they just wanted to put some name there so that it would be like they are taking some taxes from people who are leading a luxurious life. But they have no clue. It was not a visionary endeavor. Because you see, if you watch even the demonstrators, I got closer to them, and one of them, he put this in a slogan to this cesspool vehicle, this toilet vehicle. They put this one to be luxury vehicle. Because under the current dispensation, a toilet car, those baller, all those by their engine capacity are luxury cars.
That's it. It's true.
So you can see a toilet car. So they brought it to Parliament. I said, Parliament, come and see the luxury cars. So when people were running away because of the stench. But why would you run away from a luxury car?
That's the point.
So you see the irony. So it's even exposing big time.
I know.
The lack of creativity of this government in respect of this taxation. So it's clueless. And like you rightly pointed out, if you are basing it on the engine capacity, this one is factored into the import duties that you pay at the port.
Exactly,
when you go to clear your vehicle, how much duty you pay is a function of the capacity of your engine.
Exactly.
Okay? The bigger the engine, the more you pay. So why do you pay for that bigger engine capacity? Only to come out again, to go and pay another tax again for a bigger engine capacity. This is not only double taxation, it's criminal.
Criminal, yes, I agree. It's criminal.
You see, because that's double taxation. You are taxing the people double for the same item. Because you don't go and pay for the same engine capacity at the port. More that you pay for the bigger engine capacity. And come out again to be taxed again for the engine capacity again. It's double taxation. Double jeopardy for the citizens. And I think that somebody should challenge. Ghanaians should begin to mount this in. To challenge this, I believe it's illegal for you to tax citizens on the same item twice for the same product. I think that it is totally unacceptable. But Master, today what are we seeing? You see, as we speak, the coalition that we talked about that are out to demonstrate. Just look at the coalition. Some of them are what? Dealers, importers, those in import and export. Through drivers union, concerned drivers union, spare part dealers.
Even the petrol.
No, when I was coming on my way to this place from Aboso Okai, especially under President Mama, was very busy, especially Saturday like this. Sometimes when you are going to drive on the main road, the whole main roads even were taken by people. Very difficult for you to pray. But when I was coming, Saturday, I almost passed there without noticing the place. And I can tell you that the main street in Aboso Okai, which used to be clogged with people, today, I'm telling you, I could have driven 50 to 60 kilometers per hour on that road. It's like a desert. The businessmen whose business thrived, even under President Mama, they complained about, today their businesses are collapsing. My brother, you just go outside there and say you want to exchange $1 CDs and see how much you are going to pay. Because now the CD is now falling like a newly liberated coconut from a tree. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Sorry, the coconut man is here. Free fall, my brother. And it's every day now. It's every day.
Every single day. Yeah.
Every day now. The CD is depreciating. It's terrible. I mean, he just mentioned what predicament the woman went through. Yeah. In just a 2 months span. From 13,000 to 23, it's gone up. At the beginning of this year, in January, very early January, okay, the CD to the dollar was just under 5. Okay, it was under 5 CDs to a dollar. Just for the first 2 months of this year, look at how much the CD has depreciated. To the point that, according to Bloomberg, out of 144 currencies, ours is the worst performing currency. As we speak now, the CD is depreciating over 10% already this year, only this year, and we are not even in the middle of March. We are not even in the middle of March.
Well, Alhaji,
I beg you, I'm just warming up. Let me just see.
I think we'd have to have a proper conversation.
Yes, but
this CD
but let me just say this because you see, those who invested a lot of trust and confidence in the Nana Akufo-Addo government have been so badly betrayed. The Aboso Okai spare parts dealers, those who do import and export. At the time the NDC government was exiting, President Mama was exiting, the CD to the dollar was just about 4 CDs. And the cry and the matter of the MPP was that has killed so many Ghanaian businesses. People were thrown out of jobs because the CD at 4 CDs per dollar could not was business unfriendly. So if that was business unfriendly at 4 CDs, today we are getting closer to 6 CDs. Go to the furthest below now, you will get a 5.7, and it's still rising. Okay, a gallon of petrol under President Mama was about 14 Ghana cedis. The drivers for change were mobilized by the MPP at that time to say that was the most expensive fuel price they had in the history of this country, and that it was a deliberate attempt, insensitive attempt by the President Mama government to kill their businesses. So they mobilized into drivers for change, campaigned for the MPP on the grounds that when they come, a gallon of petrol will sell less. Today, how much is a gallon of petrol? we are not going to 24 cedis, getting to 25 cedis a gallon. 23%, almost 24 Ghana cedis today. So if 14 cedis is insensitive, why will you describe 23, 24 cedis?
No, Alhaji, unfortunately we have.
You see all these drivers, all of them. Today, the necessity of life, because today they have visited reality, and that's why they say if you don't know death, look at sleep.
Thank you.
You see, today they are realizing the hopelessness, because this government is hopelessly uninspiring. A very clueless government that obviously has no grips with the attempt to solve the problems of this nation. And the problems are being compounded every day. So it is hopelessly uninspiring in giving hope to Ghanaians. Okay. And that's why many of them today, a lot of them who contributed monies, a lot of them, like the Aboso spare part dealers, I listened to their chairman. I was on a program on Radio Good, I think about 3 weeks ago or a month. When the chairman of Aboso he was lamenting, my God, monies, they said they contributed 2.5 billion at that time to fund Nana Akufo-Addo's campaign.
I don't think
today
I think
they are crying mama, their businesses are collecting and they are doing. I'm not the one said. My colleague and chairman on the communications committee, Honorable Kennedy Japan, he said he went to the Tema Enclave. He said he tears were in his eyes.
Okay.
The number of jobs that were people's businesses that yet they tell themselves as a business-friendly government.
Yes.
That this is a business-friendly government.
Yeah. Thank you.
And before you have done anything, look at they have inflicted Ghanaians with 123 ministers. Never in the annals of the world. Can you show me, Sana?
Thank you.
Can you show me any government on the face of this earth, Sana, that has 100 ministers?
Thank you, Alhaji.
Can you believe this?
Thank you, Alhaji.
So they say they are protecting. They have now come and they are invading the public purse.
You can still hear Alhaji ABF saying he was he's a member of parliament for Sanyarugu constituency and was one of those who joined us in the studio today. Yes, Dr. Justice Moses Kweku Aheto is a lecturer at the University of Ghana, joined us today. Adib Sani is security analyst and executive director